We'll start that. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 16th, 2015 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. It is now 6:35 p.m. I have no announcements except all of those who are interested in the pipeline project next week on March 26th at 8 o'clock at the JMU's, James Mastrocola Upper Elementary School. There'll be a meeting with Kinder Morgan in the town, and you'll have an opportunity to participate and ask questions. That goes from 8 to 10 o'clock. So I have no other announcements. I have not heard from Lauren today. So anyone else have any announcements? All right. It's beginning to look like spring out there. Knock, knock, knock. So, and spring. So yes, my brother came up from Texas and got to see snow again. So, oh well. All right. Next is public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment? All right. So the next thing is we'll jump right in with Melissa. Hi.
I'm Melissa.
Come on up. I do. I'd like you to have a seat. Yeah. Oh, and I didn't leave a pen there for the sun.
Make sure the lids
I don't really need it.
push the button.
Can you give her a...
I have one, but it seems to not be working very well. Jack, can I have your pen?
I've got a pen. I usually leave a pen here, so...
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this meeting is taped. That's why we have the microphones. So the folks who want to watch this on streaming video can watch it, because we are on streaming video. It's not live, but you can see it in a couple of days if you want to see what you look like on TV. If not, we'll be on Channel 20 as well, probably next week. So all that good stuff. So Melissa's here to tell us about Envirothon, right? Did I say it right?
Yeah.
And your project.
Okay, so I'll explain what Envirothon is
That'd be
first.
great.
But Envirothon is basically a nationwide competition where students compete, like obviously all across the nation, and from different schools, and you compete in different areas like aquatics, soil, wildlife, and forestry. And with the end result, creating solving some kind of yearly problem that they submit to you. So you use your knowledge of those 4 categories to promote more sustainable agriculture and a more effective resource management. Mm-hmm. So this year's problem is urban forestry, and we're going to be studying the Watson Park area and just how our community has done to affect that area and what different kinds of plans we can do to make it, better, I guess.
Wow.
That's an interesting area too.
Yeah. So who's your support staff?
This is my friend Jack. He's also in Envirothon.
Okay, hi Jack.
Hi,
There's about
Last name, Jack.
Jack Steinis.
Thank
You're welcome.
there's about 8 of us in Envirothon, and we have 2 advisors. And I don't know. He just came with me tonight.
Yep. Cool. So, do you know much about Watson Park? Have you been in town? Both of you been, or either of you been in town for a while?
Yeah, I've lived here my whole life. You
Yeah,
have
me
too,
as
right?
well. We have some schematics of what the park looks like. So basically, just a layout of the,
Okay.
just a layout of the map. But that's basically all we really have is data on it so far.
Yeah.
Well, it was a
History, yeah.
it was quite a sight one day. Way back when it was a factory moving and doing lots of stuff. So, but all right.
Look for the test walls.
Is that a Superfund site?
No, it was not. But
Another-
there's still some test wells out there that they sample on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did have some contaminated soil,
Right.
and there's some regulations or restrictions of how deep you can dig. I think that's what happened when they put some.
2 feet.
Yeah, 2 feet. So
Yeah, there's a
That's
member.
really all we know about it so
Yeah,
far.
okay, all
And we're
right.
just kind of hoping that you guys can help us. If you had any kind of resources about the trees that are there, which we could probably figure it out too if we went there and looked at them. But just kind of any tree inventories, what kind of the whole history of it, I guess, too as well.
Right. So, I don't believe we've done any forestry type studies in that part of town. Because that area of land is really under the control, now that I know what area you're thinking about, of the Parks and Rec Department.
Okay.
It used to have its own committee, but it's now the Parks and Recreation Department. The current director is Matt
Kasparius.
Kasparius. Have you
Yeah.
talked to Matt?
Yep, I have.
Okay.
He said actually they like do their contracting through this company called Bay State Forestry. So
Yeah.
he said we should like contact them and get in touch with them.
Yeah, so I don't believe Bay State's done any forestry work in that area because they also are our forester.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, so I don't believe they've done any work in that area. So,
They
Yeah.
may have done something, because they were talking about, because my wife and I gave them the money to plant the trees along the road, the entry road, okay? And they had done and they had told us that they had done a rough plan of what they wanted to do in terms of plantings.
okay.
So there may be something there.
Okay. So I have a contact for Bay State, Mike Powers. He's our forester. You might have to remind me in an email, but I will forward you his email address, and you can reach out to him if you'd like.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
So now Mike is a little bit newer to Merrimack than his predecessor, Dan Sear, but Dan passed away about a year ago now. So Mike may not have all the history at the top of his head. He might have to do some homework, you might say.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. And even on a broader note, we just kind of wanted to, I don't know, like outreach to the community and just kind of like get a feel for like what you guys do. So like, even if you guys don't have any like direct like things for us about Watson, we're just like really happy to like be here and just like observe what like our commission does.
so there used to be a Watson Park Committee. I'm not sure if they still have a presence on the town website. Would you, or should I look?
I think that the town center.
The town
Center
center
Committee is now the current, yeah.
Yeah, they may do more in that area than anybody else.
And certainly they would have, recent history, would have some information on the recent history.
And the great part is they meet during the week, so you might be able to get out of school to go to their meeting.
during the day.
That's always a plus.
You must have been a schemer.
No, I just know if I go to their meetings, I have to leave work.
Are you going to be looking into soils and the soil
Yep.
types? And what's that flyer? That's the 18th? That soils training class? Is that on the 18th? Does that sound right?
Not remember.
Yeah, I don't
I don't know if it's. I think it's during the day though. I don't think it's.
It's totally fine.
So there is a town center committee link
Okay.
on the town website under boards. And do they show all the people? Yeah, they don't have email addresses though for anybody.
What do you need? Got it.
Well, so I mean, Jackie Flood is a great resource.
Yeah, well, here's her name and phone number.
Right. So Jackie.
Nelson Disco is another one.
Nelson Disco.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and you should be able to find his number and all that.
And these are members of the town center.
Town
committee.
Center Committee, yeah. So
Well, if Jackie isn't a member, her husband is, but Jackie was,
no, she's
very-
listed as the secretary.
oh, okay,
Yep. In fact, yeah, her term ends this year, so she's still a member.
okay.
So Jackie's been around this project, the whole creation of Watson Park, from what it used to be. I mean, it used to be a factory site that then there was contaminants found on it, so then it had to be cleaned up, and the buildings were all taken down, and Mr. Watson was generous enough to purchase the site and all that, and then donate it to the
Give
town.
that back to me, I'll give you
So-
Nelson's.
So, and you can learn all that history by talking to Jackie or Nelson. Nelson has been in town going back to the 60s, okay? He was also the chair of the planning board for many years, so he knows all about that site and everything else.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, I remember growing up as a kid when it was a working factory and people used to work there, so.
Because
Yeah,
I don't think I've
Among
ever
other
lived here when
things.
it was.
It was a chicken
Tanning hide.
tannery,
Tannery,
shoe
yeah.
factory.
Press the sign.
Yeah.
In fact, if you go there, you might find a few spots along the riverbank where you can still find some of the old hides. They try to clean up most of them, but still some of them still exist out there.
I
so.
moved here in 2002, but I mean, I was only 4
Yeah.
years old. It's like I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
But
Not yet.
there was it was always just empty land. And I remember like as a kid, I was always like, oh, like why don't they make a park there? Why don't they make a park there? And I didn't know that it
Yeah.
like had a factory on it
Oh, yeah.
before.
So
It's like-
the other thing is it might even be documented at the library. If you find some of the Merrimack history books, you might find out about it. The last name for that place was the Harcross site, Harcross.
Yes, yeah, Harcross Chemical.
Yeah, that was the last name for it, but I'm sure it had many owners over the many years. Because there's pictures of it back in the 30s with the big flood of, 38 or something like that, all being underwater and everything, so. So if you go,
36 and 38.
yeah, if you go there now, there's been a number of trees that have been planted there, either up by the road or further down on the property. The only native trees that are there are along the river, either the Sauhegan River or Babusick Brook. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a little river that flows into the big river. Well, that's Babusick Brook, and then it flows into Sauhegan River, and then another about a half a mile down that all flows into the Merrimack River. So.
But there were 2 trees planted when they did the pavilion.
Yeah, but most of the trees that are in the open space were put in there
Yeah.
after the fact. They're not native.
Okay.
So, and Jackie should be able to help you with the types of trees that were planted after the fact with what they are. So,
They put some kind of a master plan together.
Yeah.
And they may have a plantings concept for that, what they would like to do.
Okay.
yeah. I'm looking here on the town website. They don't have as much of the information anymore. Let me go back, because it used to be able to find all of that on the, well, what I can do is I can send you what I used to know about it, okay?
Okay.
But as far as the commission is concerned, we really haven't done a whole lot of work out there. We really weren't actively involved with that parcel, so.
Now, there is an opportunity because the town has been notified that they've been awarded a $500,000 grant to complete the trail that starts there and runs up the river. Along with the highway department saying that likely in 2016, they're gonna give us that 56 acres over there as a mitigation for the widening of the turnpike.
That's behind the fire station over by the high school, so that's further away, but yeah. I mean, so there is a grand plan to connect Watson Park all the way behind the high school, under the highway, over to Wildcat Falls Conservation Area, and create this big loop.
Like, yeah.
And there is a pedestrian bridge over by the highway, and that'll all tie in so that folks that are in the southwest section of Merrimack will be able to walk across the pedestrian bridge through the trail and actually go to Watson Park and enjoy the park and then walk home again, and never have to take their car out and drive anywhere. Or young folks can ride their bike from that side of town and go to the high school if they want to ride a bike to high school.
Old
You
folks can ride bikes too.
That's true.
And which
Yeah, but you don't go to high school.
To the high school.
Which
You might want to you can catch a football game. So I know
which demographic do you fall into?
We're in the middle.
I fall into the grandpa category myself. So I have grandkids in the school system now. So, but whatever.
So you're making a presentation of this when you're done?
Yes.
And is this a competition that goes across?
Yeah, so we have the state competition in May. We have actually, it's kind of like weird because it's not very, not a lot of people know about it. And we have training day on March 28th, where we go and they teach us like more about how to analyze soil pits and tree samples and like animal tracks and all that. And then we go, and then in May we have our competition, and that's where they give us the problem, and we have 45 minutes to create a presentation about our like area, like whatever we chose to do, and focusing on urban forestry and what kind of plans could be made to like attract these kind of animals and get like not attract these animals and create a more community area. And that's the state level, and then if we win we go on to regionals and then nationals.
Is this sponsored through the school?
Yes.
And is it in the biology department or?
I don't know. I think so. Oh, our two advisors are biology teachers, but I think it's just like the school in general. I don't think they have certain like areas.
Now, there, maybe 10 years ago, USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, started a big push in New Hampshire on urban forestry. So they're another resource that I think they're over at UNH. And if they aren't, if you go to the Cooperative Extension Service, the Hillsborough County Cooperative Extension Service, they can probably hook you up with the feds. And they have extensive stuff on urban forestry.
Yeah, they're part of this. They are part. USDA is part of this.
Oh, okay. So,
Is there a link in the back of the document? Yeah. okay.
John Perry.
Okay.
so, you know, that's good.
So are you aware that the town has a GIS system so you can get maps and stuff like that?
I was not aware
No.
of that. Are you aware of that?
So there is a website called merrimackgis.org, and it's an online. I don't know if are you familiar with GIS at all?
No.
So what you'll see is a map of Merrimack pop up, and you can expand into it, and you can get information about different parcels of land and stuff like that, and you should be able to find the Watson Park parcel there. And
Yeah, we've been looking at, I think I mentioned iTree, which is like an app where you can zoom in. It sounds similar to this, although I haven't obviously looked at this. But
Yeah.
that's what we've been looking at and using so far. But if Merrimack specifically has one, then that'd be really great.
Well, yeah, so this one will just show the parcel, the outline. It'll give you a chance to superimpose one of the layers, they call them layers, will be an aerial shot. So you'll be able to see an aerial shot of what it looked like in 2005. I think that's the latest files. So you'll be able to see, you'll be able to at least see what it looked like then. And then maybe even Google Earth has newer pictures. I suspect they might. And Google Earth sometimes has historical pictures, so you might be able to go way back in time if that's helpful. Or
Well, you can find historical pictures from the U.S. Geologic Survey. And whenever they do the flyovers, those are available.
yeah,
You can look at them. If you want to pay the money, you can buy them.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
well, from Google Earth, they have access to a lot of it as well. So you'd be able to see pictures from the 90s or the 70s and stuff like that. So that way you can at least see how the trees have changed, if that's interesting to you. So.
Yeah, that is.
So we've studied a lot of different properties, but that's just not one of them. If not, I'd be able to give you forestry studies. Our Horse Hill Nature Preserve in our Greater Woods area, we've had foresters actually go out and tell us how many of what kind of trees we have, what their forestry value is, and all that too. But we don't have that data for this property. So
The NRPC on that?
yeah. So the other thing is the Nashua Regional Planning Commission, and their website is nashuarpc.org. And they should have on their main website a GIS link, and you can get mapping and other information from them as well. That, or you can just contact them and write them and say, hey, I'm doing a project like this. Do you have any historical or other information? They're right here in Merrimack over near Cinemagic. They have
On
regular,
Executive Park Drive.
yeah. So they're building across from Cinemagic. So you'd be able to go. You could go to their office and get information from them. They're very easy to work with. So, you know, you could talk to one of their folks and see if they have things that would interest you. So, and they print great maps. They've got good equipment too. So, or they can give it to you electronically, and then you can incorporate it into your reports. So, so that's what I know. But yeah, talking to Jackie Flood she'll give you lots of information. She's a great lady. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Anything else we can help you with?
No, that's really it. That, and then just the whole like getting a feel of like what specifically our town does for the environment. So we're also just kind of here to observe.
Okay, so as the Conservation Commission, we have a couple of different roles here in town. One of them, just for the town, is that we look at projects that fall in the aquifer conservation area, which is most of the town of Merrimack, because I'm not sure you know this or not, but in fact, all the water from Merrimack residents, except for residents on Pennachuck Water, all get their water from underground, either their private well or the town wells. In order to have drinkable water, we need to protect the aquifer, the water underground, underneath a lot of Merrimack. So part of our job is to look at when projects, developments, or buildings are done, that we look at, what is the impact of the water, and like salt on the road and stuff like that. We don't want to drink salty water, and fertilizers and everything else. So we look at those kinds of things and that's done because the town has asked us to do that. But the Conservation Commission is actually put together by state law, and that law is RSA 36-A, and in that law it asks us to watch over the natural resources of the town, including water, animal, and plants, and things like that. And we also have the ability to, it's a very general law, it's not very specific, which gives us a lot of freedom, but it allows us to have a fund for conservation and to utilize that fund to purchase land or to manage land or to do conservation type activities, whether that is land conservation or water conservation. So we do have a fund here in Merrimack. The townspeople have set that up. We've got quite a bit of money in it. And right now the Conservation Commission either manages or owns about 1,500 acres here in Merrimack, all over the place. Two very large parcels, one being the Horse Hill Nature Preserve off of Amherst Road, and then Greater Woods, which is in conjunction with the school, and it's a whole conglomeration of properties, and that's over behind the new middle school off of Babusick Lake Road. And then we've got other small pieces. We have the Wildcat Falls, which is about 80 acres on the other side of the highway from the high school, and then there's some over off of Babusick Lake Road and south end of town, all over the place. So what we do here is we have 3 large parcels that we have subcommittees that help us manage. The Horse Hill, the Greater Woods, and the Wildcat Falls. So we've got a volunteer team that helps us with trails and markings and things like that. And then the other general properties we try to handle as much as we can, or we leave them alone, because sometimes that's the right way to manage them. So, and a lot of our properties came to us either by purchase or by donation. So back in the 70s and 80s, it was very common to take a large tract of land, cut it all up for houses, and then the little pieces in the back, things that didn't quite work or that were really wet and stuff like that, they said, well, we'll just give that to conservation. And so we've got a lot of tracts of land that are little squiggly lines, and they reach behind people's backyards and go all over the place, or they follow along the Babusick Brook as it goes through town and stuff like that too. So, did I miss anything?
No, that's pretty good.
So the last thing is we have our own website besides the one on the town, and that's merrimackoutdoors.org. Is that how you reached out to me, maybe?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so that's
I'm just gonna write it down just in case.
it's a great way to learn a little bit more about what we do, and I'm also plugging it for the TV as well.
.com. Is that what you said?
Org.
Merrimack.
.org. Okay.
Yeah, .org.
Sorry.
Yeah. So we've got data going way back in our files on different properties, but I don't recall seeing anything on this parcel.
No.
Are those files online?
Most of them are paper. So
Okay.
online
So where would we find those?
which
Right.
Downstairs,
room
downstairs in the
down.
men's room.
yeah.
That's where our storage facility is.
We have 2 places where they get
It's a running
stored.
gag.
So
It's not.
the primary files are in the office downstairs in
I
community
didn't say it
development.
wasn't true.
So, th- In fact, that's a great thing to do. You may want to go downstairs just below this window right here and speak to the ladies at the counter on the right-hand side, because they may have a large file on that property, which could have, who knows what kind of information on it. In fact, I suspect they do. So you may be able to find things in that file, just explain what you're doing and stuff like that, so. And then you could make copies of stuff that you thought was interesting. Or you might go through it all and say, that's all legal stuff, and that really doesn't matter to me. I don't know. So,
I would shoot for Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, because that's when both Sue and
yeah,
Yep.
right, yeah. And they're there till 4:30, so you could do it after school. So,
Okay. Or just leave school.
yeah, there you go. Exactly.
look where I started.
That's all your fault.
I'm always looking for
Email
ways.
addresses, no. Send comments.
Well, you've got a couple emails from me already now, so feel free. Well, no, we've got some. We had some history or some links to some history and stuff. So that's the things you have. So obviously, feel free to reach out to us if there's something we can do in the future.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, next is Ryan.
So am I supposed to sign in?
Yes, if you could. That way our minutes taker gets everything spelled right. Even though your name is a little easier than some.
My handwriting is not, though. So one thing I wanted to clear up a little bit. On the agenda, it said I was here specifically about Wildcat Falls.
Yeah.
But I'm actually more interested in all the conservation areas, well,
Okay.
all the ones with trails in general. But the reason I'm here is because I like the winter. I like snowshoeing, but I work a day job, and so when I get home, it's dark. And currently the town code has all the conservation areas closing. I believe the parks actually close at the same time, but that's a separate
Correct.
section of the code, but a half hour after dusk.
Actually, just to be clear,
Mhm.
the Chapter 111 only covers 5 of the properties, not all
Yes.
of them. Okay.
Yeah, so that's actually the loophole, because Greater Woods, even though you guys manage it, it's not called out as a conservation area, so
Yeah.
that's where people tend to flock to in the winter,
Yeah.
since it is not against the town code to go snowshoeing or cross-country skiing at night there.
Correct.
So I was looking to get the support of the Conservation Commission to, I guess, approach the town council about amending the code to permit certain activities after dark in the conservation areas during either one time throughout the year, or a schedule that changes for winter specifically. So I guess I'm just looking for some feedback about what everyone's thoughts are.
Was it your email that you sent back to him, Tim? You said like 9 o'clock was in the evening year round.
So what I did is I forwarded you, all of you, Ryan's
Yeah,
email.
I think that
And
was
in your email, you had made suggestions as to options. and
Yeah, I
things
had
like
come up
that.
with a few different ideas. The 9 o'clock idea was basically in the summer, the latest sunset is right around 8:30, so the closing time would be 9 o'clock on that day. And one of the ideas was just make that consistent throughout the year. I understand there would be some concerns about having them open, late into the night. I think for winter time, practical amount of time for people to be able to, go on a nice trip around some of the loops, like a 7:30 close, I think would be, a reasonable time for people to get activity after working for the day.
And I, in the wintertime too, I mean, from personal experience, it's kind of nice, on a nice clear winter's night to, like, when the ponds are frozen, you go out on the pond, you beautiful view of the stars, because it's open and you can't get to there in the summertime.
No.
And that's at night, so I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, so the 5 properties, some of them are deep behind people's houses.
Yeah, and I realized those you know, I didn't exhaustively go through the list of those properties and all the properties you control. I realize it's not going to be appropriate for some of the properties, but I think primarily Wildcat Falls, Horse Hill, Greater Woods. I think those are the kind of the three big ones that have trail systems.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if the area that you were just referring to, the Department of Transportation area, I don't know if that's going to be managed separately from Wildcat Falls or.
Well, it's currently owned by the state.
But once it's donated, I guess.
Well, yeah, it depends on what the easement says when the state transfers it to the town.
Okay.
So,
So it's really those three areas in particular,
Mhm.
you know, and maybe those would need to be called out specifically if there's a change in the closing hours.
mhm. So Horse Hill has no hours associated with it.
Oh, it doesn't.
It does not.
Okay. So
So you'll find a lot of folks use that property at night. In fact,
Okay.
some of the mountain bikers love to get out on their bikes at night, put their helmets on, put their bright lights on, and go for it, because they know that the chances of running into other people are slim to none.
okay.
And sometimes it's at night. It's a new challenge to do it at night, I suspect.
So I thought Horse Hill was covered by Chapter 111, and
It's
just
not.
Greater Woods was not.
No, it is not.
Okay.
No,
So that was my mistake in reading it.
Yeah.
So I guess it is specifically Wildcat Falls then.
So we're back there.
So we're back to what was originally written down on the agenda.
So
Alright.
see, Tim knew more than he was letting on. I think to clarify though, once you hit the quarry trail from Horse Hill,
Mhm.
when you cross Natticook Road, you enter a area that is partly conservation, partly Parks and Rec, and that Parks and Rec piece is Chapter 111.
Is that by Wasserman?
It's actually Chapter 142 under the
Okay.
Parks Code.
Parks Code, okay.
Yeah. So
I believe they use the same timing
They
of
do, yeah.
a half hour after dusk.
Yeah, so as part of the, Horse Hill, I don't think the Greens Pond parcel that we manage, I don't think that's called out.
it's not. No.
So, that sort of
Mhm.
would mirror Horse Hills.
Yeah.
But once you go, to one area of that park, and that could be confusing.
Mhm.
So maybe it's worthy of a sign or something.
Yeah. So I think we've all recognized for the last few years that Chapter 111 needs help.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing it's more confusing now than I initially
Yeah.
thought.
Oh, yeah. In fact, that's why in our email exchange, I kind of said, well, we probably should talk about it because
Yeah.
there's a whole lot going on. So and what confuses things even more is different parcels that we own that aren't in Chapter 111 have some rules designated in their deeds, and those rules
It's not called out in
would
the
be
town
fixed.
code.
So
Okay.
and they're not in the town code and whatever. But what I can tell you about Wildcat Falls is I actually lived right near there for about 16 years, and actually grew up playing in there and swimming and everything, fishing and all that stuff. But a number of the neighbors liked the idea of the time limit because there have been times when there's been vandalism issues and stuff
Okay.
like that. It's a great party spot. Sorry, I didn't say that. It's a lousy party spot. I got to remember who I'm talking to. But and
Actually blushing.
Not that you'd know. if it
I
was.
would not know. No. But the parking lot situation also, for that one, it makes it difficult because the parking lot goes behind a few homes. So if you're driving in there in the evenings, all of a sudden people have headlights that flash into their back windows and stuff like that, which can be disturbing. So a lot of the folks that live right there prefer the time limits that are there simply because it's less disturbing to their life. So.
Yeah, so these are some of the concerns where, in my discussions with other other people who enjoy the winter, it's mostly been one-sided discussion. So that's why,
Yeah.
as a part of trying to go to the town council, and I wanted to find out what what all of you thought. So I guess my response to that would be that you know, if I understand the headlights issue, but in terms of whether it is or is not a party spot,
Yeah.
you know, I think by having the hours, you're cutting off people from using it who aren't going to be partying. And it's already called out that you can't have drugs or alcohol in the conservation areas. And, you know, I don't feel like changing the hours would really affect whether or not there are kids out there hanging out. And one of my ideas was also to have an age restriction after dark for snowshoeing. I believe the camping provision requires someone over the age of 18 or 21. I don't remember offhand. But I had one idea that kind of used that same wording to kind of make it so that you have to have an adult out there. It wouldn't stop adults from going out there and partying, but I definitely do understand the concerns. But I also did not realize that Horse Hill was available for use after dark. So.
Right. So I think what you might run into is that it may be a nice compromise to say there are some parcels that are wide open and there's some that are more restricted.
Okay.
And if you want to enjoy that sport, you're not precluded from doing that in your town, just maybe not in the property of your choice.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But you're more than welcome to bring it to the town council and suggest it. I don't know if you want to speak for what that process is like.
You just need to make an appointment with the council and have much as you've done here, you know, express your concerns, but if you have something specific that you want to deal with, it'd be better if you had some suggestions.
Yeah.
Pretty concrete things, okay? Understand that the people at Wildcat Falls are also concerned about the possibility of other illegal activities going on there. So that's the other reason why because as soon as headlights would go in there, it's a 911 call, okay? Well, there's a car back here, you know, and you know, that would generate a response from the police department.
So go ahead.
That's that particular, you know, it's a fairly, you know, straightforward process.
But I think finding out that Horse Hill is not covered under the same hours, and if it's intended to be that way and not, you know, kind of a loophole.
It's not a loophole.
Okay.
It was done that way deliberately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then perhaps it might be good to add some notes on this on the Merrimack Outdoors webpage. It may not have been spelled out clearly that, you know, that it is open after hours. It may have not said that it closes at dusk, but it might be good to just get that information out there as, you know, these are Greater Woods and Horse Hill are the areas you can go for, you know, activities in winter after work.
Yeah, I'm happy to update the website to do that. That's easy.
Okay.
So
I think that, you know, resolves my not really issues, but why I'm here.
Yeah.
I understand the concerns about Wildcat Falls because it is kind of right in the middle, surrounded. You know, even across the river, there's houses on the on the south end. So I can understand not wanting to open up that area.
Yeah, and actually in the north end too, right across the river too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you know, obviously be cognizant too of the fact that there are other private properties around Greater Woods and Horse Hill that we purposely, when we build trails, we try to keep them away from private residents just for that purpose. But sometimes you know, they're there. Yeah. So we just ask people when they're out there at night, you know, just to, you know, someone's dog's in the backyard, they're going to be barking at midnight when you're out there trying to enjoy yourself. So just be cognizant of that. That's all.
Yeah. I took I think like a 3-mile loop a few weeks ago, and I don't think I saw a single house while I was out there. So I probably wasn't on any of the trails that went near homes, but
good. Yeah.
It's definitely something to keep in mind.
Good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you have any other questions or you have other suggestions for the website, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Okay. So that takes us through appointments, now old business, and I see Jeff is in the audience.
Welcome. Good, how are you?
Good. Come on up. So everyone, in case you haven't met Jeff, everyone, Jeff.
Hey everyone. I think I've met you all before,
Yeah.
or most. Anyway, so it's nice to see you all. I'm excited to be here to start off this project. So
Yeah.
thanks for contacting me on this issue. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have a packet here for you, Tim.
Okay.
This contains 3 signed contracts.
Oh, okay.
So one for the commission to keep, one for the town manager, and then one if you send one back to me.
Yeah.
It also has the indemnification form that was requested,
Yeah.
signed in there, W-9, and also auto insurance as well as general liability insurance certificates in there. So I think that covers all that. If there is something missing, definitely let me know if the town manager has any questions.
Okay.
Or if you guys have any questions.
Yep.
But I think
Great.
that might be complete.
So this version of the contract matches the updates that we had suggested with Gage's input and stuff
Yes,
like that too,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I made those changes in what the town manager wanted to see in the contract in terms of the amounts of liability insurance for both the auto and for my general business insurance.
Yeah.
And so that information is in the body of the contract as well as the certificates that I have there. So,
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that I sent Friday?
Friday, yeah.
Friday,
Which
what's
I
today?
believe I forwarded to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So I guess
So
nothing.
before we leave that point, are
Go
we
for
all
it.
good with the contract the way it was updated?
I think we look good.
Okay. I
Yes.
just wanted a consensus.
Sure.
Good?
Sure.
Good? All right.
So I took the opportunity. I spent quite a bit of time today going through the files that you guys put on Dropbox for me. Some of the stuff I had read through years ago when I was doing some work for the town, the Biodiversity Conservation Plan, and nothing's glaring that was questions to me that, well, do you have this? How about this? There's a lot of good information in there. I still have a lot of information back when I was doing this in 2008 to 10, I think,
Yeah.
when we were doing the plan, the Biodiversity Conservation Plan. So nothing sticks out to me that I need right now. I'm going to look a little bit more into detail at the Regional Planning Commission to see if there's any sort of specific data that was made for any of the properties that we'll be looking at, but I didn't see anything at first glance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't think you're gonna. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't think so. Sometimes, if there's a special project, but, they use the data that was created by Ann Poole and the forester that did the management plan for Horse Hill,
Yeah.
way back, but we'll be updating that information. Some of it is potential, like the potential turtle nesting areas.
Right.
So, and, any GIS data that I develop as part of this project, obviously, will be your property.
Mhm.
You'll get to use it for future management of any of these properties. I'll supply you with some photographs as well for photographic documentation, which I'll be using a camera and a GPS unit to document any significant finds on there as outlined in the contract as well.
So I did forward you a Fish and Game report about species that they have uncovered.
Yes.
That should be in the Dropbox as well.
It is, and I read through that, and I actually had a really good conversation with Mike Marchand
You did, okay.
last week. Yeah, I stay in touch with him quite a bit.
Yeah.
I work on quite a few properties over in this particular area that have some interesting species on them. So one of the conversations that I had was the interest of understanding where these species are going, where are they using the property. I think I can get my hands on some radio telemetry because I'm adjunct faculty at Antioch, and I understand that they have one. Whether it's functional or not, that's a different story. So I'm trying to figure that out right now. I have an email in. Fish and Game has some, but they only have a couple of these things, and so they're using them throughout the year, following hognose snake and black racers and other species of concern. So I don't know if they'll have one freed up. But so I'm checking in that because I thought this would be really interesting. Michael Marchand is totally supportive if he would give me the permit to go trapping.
Yeah.
The thing I would need to do is purchase the transmitters to attach it to the animal. Now, I already have an intern that's going to be working with me on this project, so he could do a lot of that work as well as I would be out in the field also. But then that would give us a sense of where these critters are going and at what time of the year, like nesting season, which I think is very critical because there's definitely a lot of sand here in Merrimack, which that's what these animals are looking for in open areas where you have very little tree cover, none at all, really sandy conditions. These are places where they're going to be nesting.
I know some of the abutters have spotted them and probably have some history or information about them.
Yeah.
That could be shared with you as well.
Yeah, that would be great if it might be best for you to contact them first. You certainly feel free to give them my contact information because I'd love to, while I'm over here, just sit down and have a conversation with them or talk to them over the phone. And on Horse Hill, I know where they were documented before, and I also read Mike's report, and plus we had a long conversation. Okay. So it's two particular species that I'm interested in. And I forget one of the ladies, the abutter. I met her years ago on this project.
Probably talked to Lynn Wenz.
Yes. Yeah, so I had a good conversation with her because she has lots of pictures.
Yes.
Of these critters out there. So
you've had a conversation with her recently?
No, this was back, a few years ago now. So
because I spoke to Lynn probably within the last 2 weeks, and she said that she would love to talk to you if you were interested in her information.
Yeah, absolutely. So if they're willing to give out their contact information, you can forward that to me. Like I said, you can always give my contact information.
I'll do that.
Either email and my phone as well.
Okay.
So I'll be easily accessible. So I'm looking into that possibility. Now, so I think I have a receiver. It's the tags, the transmitters. They're around $200 to $300 a piece. So that would be something that you might want to think about. If I do get the radio telemetry equipment, we would have to end up purchasing these transmitters. And that's what Mike was saying. They're a roundabout. They're not super expensive like they used to be many years ago, and they don't have to be surgically planted into the animal itself.
Do they fall off over time or something? Or
they can, but I would remove them after this year, after the season. Yeah, before they would go down, I would remove them. That way, they can be reused, and they can be the property of you, the town, if you want to donate them to Fish and Game for future projects for them to work on, or what have you. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because it was a good conversation.
How many are you thinking that?
Just a couple, like 2, 3, maybe. What I'd like to do is, as I'm trapping, attach them to females because they're the ones that are going to be going around to nesting. Okay, and I'd like to get both of the species, if possible.
The telemetry receivers, how much are those?
I think I have a receiver. Those are expensive. That's what. Yeah, those are expensive. I don't know how much. I haven't checked into it. I've never looked into purchasing that equipment because it's not feasible for me to purchase that kind of equipment. I don't.
If you could just blast me a quick email with the part numbers or what you're looking for, what kind of equipment it is, manufacturer's name or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can look into that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I see a lot of value in that information because that will help us understand what the impacts are by having it. So
absolutely. So there's, like Anne had identified 2 spots within the right of way that were turtle nesting habitats. When I was there, it's like, this is great turtle nesting habitat. But now this gives us a little bit more focus of actually following where they are in the month of June, basically.
Yeah,
it's sort of the hot time.
So I could see the commission supporting your efforts there. So, right?
Yeah. I could see the town helping out too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this wouldn't have any harm to the animal.
No.
Right? I mean, it'd just be external. And
yes, it's external. So it doesn't require a vet and surgically implanting anything into the. I've used this stuff before when we tracked the same animal in other properties, working with Laura Deming from Audubon Society, who provided a letter that I read. I didn't realize that a while ago on the Horse Hill property.
Right.
All right, Gage. So I'll send you some product information. I hope to hear later in this week that if we do have a receiver that's functional. So
Okay.
then I'll follow up with you on that.
Fish and Game may be able to give us the,
What's this? If he's already got a receiver or some telemetry equipment, might as well see if we can.
That's what I'm hoping.
I'm
yeah.
assuming that you have a particular brand that you want to work with because it's got some features and functions that work well for you. So I'd like to make sure we stay in that same family of hardware.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, that was a good conversation. I wanted to at least touch base with him because I knew that he had been out there. I know a big project that he's been working on for the Northeast, identifying prime habitat for the species.
Yeah, I mean,
we were actually talking about last year when we were on another property that there were some various reptiles, interesting reptiles, on another property, and he was telling me that I think he may have even walked out there. He did. He walked out to Horse Hill with me one time during the biodiversity conservation plan because we were taking a look at some of the ponds that were out there and where we were documenting stuff. I plan to get in touch with the Merrimack Police. I got your email on that end, so I'll have a little sign on the dashboard. I'm happy to make a little tag to carry around with me and whoever else will be helping me out on the project, so it's very clear who it is, and I'll give them, all my vehicle information and let them know when I'm going to be out on the properties.
Yeah, and I know they shared our plans with their dispatch captain, Peter Albert. So
Okay.
'cause it would come through dispatch. Those
Okay.
folks, anyways, if someone was to call. So, yeah, we don't want you to be mistaken for a KM person.
I don't want to be mistaken for that either. And you said his name was
Peter. Yeah, Peter Albert.
Albert. Okay.
It's P Albert at merrimacknh.gov if you want his direct email. So, and if anyone raises a question or says, "What are you talking about?" just tell them to see me.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
and
Yeah.
they'll give you the badge.
Yeah.
They'll take your photo.
You think they'll do a badge? Because
Yeah.
I didn't get that from the email. But
okay. Yeah. No,
Wow.
it just sounded like it.
Well, they did for me.
yeah, okay,
I got one.
all right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
Let's
Yeah.
put it this way: they have the capability to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, because you may.
I would prefer that they make an official badge because I could go make a badge and hang it around my neck.
Yeah, well, that's what I was
It's the
going
same,
to do.
So
I was
I
like-
just sooner there'd be something.
Like, where do you go to get a badge made around here? I was like, I've
Yeah.
never had that before.
I got the laminating machine.
Well, that's exactly my point.
Yeah,
is,
that's
you
why I
know,
asked my wife to bring hers home from work.
How many licenses have you done lately?
All right, well,
Well,
when
my
I
daughter's been out of college for a long time, so it's not that big a deal.
So I was going to give Chief Mark Doyle a
Yes,
phone
that's
call,
fine,
so I'll
yeah.
ask him about the badge at
Yeah,
that
you
point
might,
if he can
yeah,
make a couple
yeah.
for us. All right.
Yeah. So obviously Peter works for Mark. So
Yeah, because we did those for the 4th of July committee.
yeah, and I know I got one for the town council when I was a councilor as well.
Yeah.
I had an ID.
Okay.
That's a clip-on thing for your shirt or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Hey, no, it's good to have it look official as opposed to homemade.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll take the homemade ones quicker.
A couple other questions, and if you guys have any questions at any point, please
Yeah.
feel free to ask. There's sort of a informal agenda here. Now, the original Horse Hill Preserve master plan, has there been an update to that? I didn't notice anything, but I just thought I'd ask
No.
outright. Okay, all right.
So the master plan hasn't been touched, and the definitive plan, which came after the master plan, hasn't been touched.
Okay, because I remember seeing a folder with that, but it seemed like there was only maps in there. I didn't necessarily see a
Yeah.
plan. Maybe I should look back at that. Maybe I
can
missed
bring
something.
it up if you want. I have my
Oh,
computer.
Yeah. Okay.
If you'd like. I mean, let's make this productive if you
Yes,
want.
absolutely.
So
All right. As you're bringing that up, Gilmore Hill. So the right of way is, well, I guess it's EverSource now. They own that, but I think in the deed it says that the landowners have the right to cross that property.
Yeah.
How does that relate to me being
Well,
a
you'd be an,
contractor of the town. Do I have that right?
well, you're an agent of ours.
Right, okay. I just wanted to make
So as
sure.
far as I'm concerned, that you have that right,
Right, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
because you're duly authorized by the contract.
Right.
So that didn't turn on, did it?
You've always held that property as public use too, so
Yeah.
it'd be
Yeah.
pretty difficult to all of a sudden now say, only certain people can go in there.
Yeah, but we're doing that.
Right.
Been known to happen.
Yeah, I mean, even with the survey request, we put limits on what they can
Right.
do.
I'm just thinking of the right of way, because I mean,
Yeah.
that pond was used for plenty of hockey games this winter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
The new pond.
It was cold enough, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, have you been back there last? I don't know, like last couple months.
No.
So
Yeah, it's,
that what was a sand pit under the power lines.
Yeah.
Is now full of water.
Is it?
It's a huge pond.
yes, yeah, it's considerably different than.
Well, I was looking at aerials, and I thought that looked a little new. I didn't remember that before, but it's
It's-
like, well,
It's
sometimes
a
you
big pond right now.
just- Yeah, okay.
Yeah. We probably have to kill the lights or do something with the lights.
Two summers ago, it emptied out.
Actually, I
Yeah.
bet it local, so
Last
we don't
summer,
have to.
it never emptied out.
No. Wow.
So it's
Yeah.
ever changing.
That's going to be hard for. Well, it's good for us, anyways, right?
Video.
Yeah. Because everyone
Yeah, this
sees
is
what I
on
have on
council.
my computer, right?
Yeah, right.
So this is the Dropbox area that I grabbed yesterday. I figured it was easier to have it local, and in case the network wasn't working, I would have it for tonight. So is there a this particular area where you we're seeing?
The definitive plan backup data?
Yeah. Okay. So that's
And
that. Yeah. So
so those are maps.
those are just maps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not the definitive plan itself.
Okay. Then I must have missed that somehow.
So is the definitive? Did I forget to put the definitive plan in here? Forest Hill got master plan. Results. We got K&M stuff. Wow. Interesting. I did.
And when was that developed?
That was done in 5 and 6, so that was there before you did your
Oh,
last
okay.
work here.
So I have read that then before, and I may even have it in
Yeah.
on my backed up drive. I haven't pulled all that stuff from the plan.
So, do I have the definitive plan at this level? I'm not used to looking at my files from this far away. Oops. That took right off. Okay. We're back. Oh, we're gone. I'm still connected. Come on, computer.
Back.
All right, well, since, let's not hold up the meeting. I will make sure the definitive plan is in there.
Okay.
All
Is it online?
It will be shortly.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
when we took down the old Horse Hill site, all
Yeah.
that went down, but I'm gonna put all that on the new site.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right. Yeah.
Close your eyes.
Yeah. Okay. They're gonna go in weird. All right. That's gonna flash off and on, isn't it? Do we care? If we need it back again, we can crank it up again. All right.
Is there any questions about what I'm going to be doing out here?
So talk a little bit about
Sure.
the wetland work you're going to do in
Yeah,
the
'cause
New Hampshire method, or
Yeah, I would like to talk about that for a moment because I read your master plan update, which is really great that you got that updated, and there's reference in there regarding wetlands evaluations. So this may be another consideration that you may want to just think about for now. But basically, the wetlands evaluation is going to be part of the ecological assessment part. We need to define where that zone is. Is it going to be all the wetlands on each one of these properties, or are we just looking within the right-of-way in a certain buffer associated with that, okay? That doesn't necessarily have to be defined right now. But what we'll be looking at, because we need to, well, one, figure out the number of wetlands in the area, it's going to define that. And then also which of the functions and values. So what I'm going to be using is the New Hampshire method. It was recently revised. It's been around and been used in New Hampshire for quite some time now. The original one had 14 different functional values that you assessed. The new one now has 12. They reduced it down a little bit. And I can run through these. But basically, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's a comparative wetlands evaluation, okay? I do it a lot for towns so they can look at prioritizing wetlands for conservation, maybe looking at wetlands mitigation, maybe looking at ARM funds, the Aquatic Resource Mitigation Funds, that are probably going to be bumped up if this project goes through. There's going to be quite a few wetlands that are going to be impacted, okay? Having this evaluation affords you the opportunity to understand what are the functional values of the wetlands that may be impacted. But if you wanted to do it on a town-wide level, like what your master plan is suggesting you guys do, now you're looking at a town-wide level, and now you can start being armed for mitigation purposes in the town for any type of project that comes up, taking out particular functions and values. Either, well, I think most people, projects of mitigation is they pay into this fund now. It's one of the easiest, but you can still protect lands like wetlands and the surrounding uplands.
So we've tried very hard not to encourage people who are doing projects in Merrimack to pay into the fund.
Okay.
Because we've been trying to use those, we've been trying to keep things local.
Okay.
So in fact, our last big project, or second to last big project on Greater Woods was partially funded with mitigation.
Okay. All right.
Actually, it was our own mitigation, so we chose to do our own mitigation on our own land. So, and Lori Summers went along with all that, and it worked out really well. So
Yeah. So what we're doing, we're focusing on the 3 properties at this point. If you wanted to extend that to your town-wide wetlands evaluation, you could. Maybe this is the opportunity to do that, because then you're identifying all these variety of functional values on a town-wide level, okay? That can then get you, if you're interested, as your master plan suggests, if you want to go for prime wetlands designation. And that was the real crux of one of the recommendations in your plan. So let me just ramble off some of these functional values. I'll read them all off, and I'll talk about some of the ones that are most important for this particular project and how it relates to prime wetlands. But so you have ecological integrity, health of a system, wetland-dependent wildlife habitat, fish and aquatic habitat, groundwater recharge, sediment trapping, nutrient trapping, flood storage, shoreline anchoring, water-based recreation, scenic quality, educational potential, and what's called noteworthiness. That really takes a look at how special it is. It may be a really small wetland, but it may have rare species that are in there. Okay, it may be a historical site, an archaeological site. So it helps to bring in these other areas that are like sort of like its own little value or its own little function, but there was no neat place to put it in there, so they put it in a thing called noteworthiness. Some of the most important ones for this proposed project that seem to be consensus of professionals like myself are looking at ecological integrity, okay, again, the health of that system. The 2 wildlife habitats, the wetland dependent and the aquatic, the groundwater recharge, the sediment trapping and the nutrient trapping, both of those look at water quality, okay, and then the noteworthiness. So that identified 7 there. New Hampshire administrative rules say if you are interested in looking at prime wetlands designation, you have to pick 10 of the functional values. And so if you're doing 7, you might as well do at least 3 more. And what I would recommend doing is the flood stores, the educational potential, and the scenic potential. Not too many of your wetlands in town probably have water-based recreation, except some of the lakes and ponds that are around here that has a wetland that's adjacent to it. Having said that, shoreline anchoring is probably not high on the list in terms of the wetlands that you have around here. So those would be my suggestions for the wetland functional values that we look at, and then that way it puts it into the 10 that if you interested later to do an evaluation, or if you wanted to make that as part of something that you're interested in doing this year, considering what's going on. And what this does within each one of these functional values, there's a series of questions that I ask. One is the size of the wetland, and you get 3 answers. Is it less than 10 acres? Is it 10 to 50 acres, or is it over 50 acres? So there's a series of these. So then you get a rank. So it assigns a quantitative rank. So then you can compare wetland A ecological integrity with wetland B ecological integrity, or all the ones that you look at. You can see which ones rank really high for ecological integrity. But you don't really sum all the 12 or 14 functional values together. It's not quite like that. You can sum all those up and compare wetland A to wetland B. It's each of the functional values that you compare amongst another. And then this helps with landowner management of wetlands. It can also identify areas for restoration. Okay, that's another part of the New Hampshire method. It's a great educational tool for citizens as well as boards and council as well. So that's one part of this project. And some of this is sitting in an office using GIS to map a lot of these things. So you take a look at a 500-foot buffer. What sort of percentage of land use is within that particular buffer? So again, there's all these questions, and you come out with a particular rank.
Mm-hmm. Just to note, in the Dropbox, I put in a scanned map of wetland systems in Merrimack. I think that's what I named it. And apparently back in the 80s and 90s, some of the conservation members followed the then version of the New Hampshire method and ranked some of our wetland systems.
Yes, I remember that now, talking with Andy.
Yeah. So I found some of the data for the main wetland system that goes through the middle of Horse Hill. I didn't have a chance to scan it, and I didn't know if that was a value here. I figured it looked like a bunch of sheets with checklists and numbers, but I figured if you're redoing that, it's probably best to have the current data, not 30-year-old data.
Yeah, and because the method has changed a little bit, and one of the strengths behind this is having the same observer. Yeah. If you have a lot of different observers, you may score something a little bit differently. Okay. And so keeping it systematic like that is really important. Having the data, take a look at it, sure, but since it's a new method and that was a while ago, might as well use this method and make it all consistent. Correct. That would be my advice on that.
Yep. Oh, I understand. I just want to make you aware.
Sure, absolutely. And then the other portions of on-site visits, I have focal species that I look for, so species of concern, and then a variety of other animals like otter, bear, moose, bobcat, which is a species of concern. A variety of these that can look at health of a system. So beaver is a keystone species. You remove beaver out of the landscape, you're going to really change the wildlife diversity in an area. Beavers come in, otters come in, turtles come in, kind of get the key there. And we'll be looking at document. Yes.
But we have a map, we have a GIS layer for that. So it's probably something we can get. It's not really ready yet, but certainly
the one that that Tracy's been doing. Yeah.
Of what?
Of beaver.
Oh yeah. I'd love to see that plan to see how that may work in with this project. Maybe it won't have a huge significance, but it's definitely worth taking a look at. I know that you guys, Tracy's almost done,
Tracy,
right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we should be seeing a rough draft for comment April 1st. So time frame.
Yeah.
So I can talk to him about getting that GIS layer. I'll trade you for the turtle layer.
Yeah, the turtle.
we're looking for that one. We want to add that to that same layer. So
Oh, you're talking about we were exchanging some emails about
Amphibian crossing.
potential amphibian crossing sites. Yes. I got something else to send to you then. And those
There's
are
another-
just potential. Those
Right.
are based on, say, roadside surveys. I know where these wetlands were, and it's like,
Right.
it looks like a spot.
Yeah, like Natticook Road.
Yeah, that's not potential.
Another month or so,
Yeah.
be a lot
actually-
of turtles out there.
Yeah.
I've actually assisted critters across Natticook Road.
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a outfit called Avio, the Swaylet Valley Environmental Observatory over in our way. They work a lot with the Hare Center, big conservation education place, and for years they have volunteers. They call it the Salamander Crossing Brigades. Yeah. So there's a couple of spots where just every year, and actually the city police in Keene actually would block off a particular road because there was just so much activity, and there's some species of concern that were crossing the roads out there.
And in early May, you might see that big snapping turtle that's down there on Craftsman Lane.
Yeah.
They're coming and going right out of the Meadowwood Pond, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you'd be surprised how many places you have
Oh, yeah.
amphibians, reptiles moving across roadways. So back in 2008, 2009, I think was the main field season, I identified a lot of potential vernal pools on Horse Hill. So I have this data, so I'll be going back and confirming these because some of them were out of the season. It might have been in July or even August by the time I found those, and the species that were using them, they were already gone. They'd already moved back into the uplands at that point. I'm just taking a look at some. So I'll be mapping fine scale habitats, looking at any unique natural communities. But I think I have a pretty good sense of what's going on these properties. We did find a very interesting rare community at Gilmore with some interesting organisms out there, not associated with the right of way. Is there any other questions about the wetlands evaluation? I just want to make
You
sure.
bring up a good point. That was one of the things we discussed last time, and as far as the scope too of the project is, when we see or you find, an area that's interesting, and it may not be in the actual right of way, but it's kind of migrating off into
Right.
wherever. We want to be able to tag that so we know, because if it crosses off into private property, that private property owner probably doesn't know it exists either.
Mm-hmm.
So we just want to make sure that we're capturing, even it's just you see something, you know what, you need to do more research over here.
Okay.
Just somebody to tag those on a map somewhere, so we know to go back and try to ID those areas.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll definitely do that.
And as the pipeline pathway becomes a little more concrete, it might be good to know about those because we may want to have,
Yeah.
we may want to reach out and make that contact and actually have you, go take a look and get a feel for the entire extent of whatever it is you find.
Yeah. Absolutely. So any of that information that I can see that's
Yeah.
outside the property, even can do some easy roadside surveys where the right-of-way crosses roads, doing visual observation. I call them windshield surveys.
Yeah.
And I can do. And I did talk to Clay Leonards from the Horseshoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they decided not to go through with a study on their
Yeah.
property at this point.
Okay. But he would allow you on the property
Yeah,
still?
he said just to let them know
Right,
that
yeah,
when
you
I
don't
would
wanna
be out there.
be- Yeah, you might have to duck if you don't.
But yeah, I told him that I would be in touch when I was going to be out and about and see a need to walk out there. But he was very amenable to that, so that was
Okay.
good.
Good.
What are you thinking of as a buffer from along the actual right of way?
Yeah, that's what I need to figure out.
Because I've been in facilities work for a long time, and
Mhm.
I know how much damage we do at a parking lot to put a 12-inch pipe in,
Yeah,
and to put a 36-inch pipe in, the amount of width of installation space that takes, and that's concerning to me.
right.
It's not just the right of way. What's going to look like, a
I
couple
don't
years
think
after it's
I don't
done.
think that's clear yet, or it's
Right.
been made known, not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But that's something that we have to figure out. So I'll be looking well beyond, obviously, the
Right, just the
right of way
right-of-way.
area. Yeah.
Well, the stuff that Kinder Morgan sent to FERC Friday
Yeah.
contains a lot of their proposed siting
Oh, yeah.
for construction locations, okay, and how much land they're going to set aside for the pipeline right-of-way and how much land is being set aside on both sides of the center line of the pipeline for additional work areas, okay, and based on my cursory look at it, you got to go deep because the maps, the ones in Merrimack are stacked all in one file, and they're in like linear form. But they've got a fairly good idea of where they're going to have problems because they're setting up additional proposed work areas or storage areas, like on either sides of roads, because they're going to be jacking under the road, or wetlands. I saw some wetlands, not necessarily in Merrimack, but in other towns where they had done that. So you can look at that and have a pretty good idea of what they think, the issues I think that they're going to run into as they put this preliminary piece together. And like I said, that was only what I spent, about an hour with looking at them last night.
So the FERC website is difficult at times, to be gentle. Did the town download those and make them available on the town website?
Probably not yet.
You said this was just last Friday?
They did it on Friday, yeah.
That's good to
Do you have any idea if that's intended to be done, or are we just going to link to FERC and let you get it from FERC?
Well, if you get it from FERC, you get a zip file,
Yeah,
and then you gotta open them up.
yeah.
Okay, so I figured, well, I'll just save them onto a thumb drive. I can't use a thumb drive now. Won't let me delete them. So I said, oh, the hell with that. And I went back and I downloaded them again and put them on my computer hard drive, and then I can look at them and I can bring them up and I can identify them and rename them, because I couldn't even rename them before because all they give you is a file number.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just curious if there was a more convenient way to get them. That's all.
I doubt it.
There was a website that someone was downloading all that info
Yeah.
and making it available in just straight PDFs, but I'll see if I can find that again. I don't know, since the last time I looked at it, but we've been getting, 40 and 50 messages a day.
Yeah.
So it's just it may just become unreasonable.
I know
to,
Bill Boyd complained
yeah.
to the council that he was having a hell of a time. It took him a long time to do it, because when I started downloading it, 1 hour and 35 minutes left.
Not something to do
I
right
said,
for a bit.
oh, okay, well then I'm gonna go empty the dishwasher.
Well, and I didn't even see what there
anyone
was a
gets them,
zip
we should
file.
put
I mean,
them
I
in
pulled
Yeah.
it up. and
Well, it's
it
the same, but I
has
mean,
all of
it's-
the documents, but you have to click on every single
You
one.
have
If you click on all,
Yep.
you get a zip file.
Oh,
click on all,
highlighted.
Go down to the
Okay.
bottom
And then, so you're downloading them all at once.
and download, and it dumps them all into a zip file.
Okay.
And it's almost a gig.
Oh, I bet it's more than that.
Well, one of them was 250 pages.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they
Light
just
evening reading, right?
yeah.
Well,
yeah,
they-
yeah.
they did their work because you get all this volume of information, right? It's complete.
No, it's not.
But
Even this isn't complete.
There's been 20 plus messages today, at least 20. Oh yeah, look at that! Holy
Okay.
crap! There's got to be 35 or 40 messages today.
Because I looked at that right before I came to the meeting. I opened it up, and it still got the file. I said, oh, I think it was here. And I clicked on it, and sure enough, that was the one. So I got lucky.
So if you think there's particular FERC or Kinder Morgan documents that you need and you're having a hard time getting them, let us know,
Okay.
because maybe we can help. That way you can spend your time doing more
Yeah,
productive things.
They could put my time elsewhere, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will then. I'll take a look at this really quickly and see if I can find it. But this sounds like a important document for me to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Recall which of the 10 documents it was?
10?
Or no. So, well, there is. Sorry, they have certain I want to say the term right, but it's not.
It was attached to one of the appendices.
Because there were 10 reports that they had to generate,
Right.
and that's why I was curious if you knew which one of the 10.
And then there's 4 or 5 or 6 appendices.
Okay. All right.
And they're attached to one of the appendices.
Oh, I see. All right.
So you have to go up to
Okay.
the 3rd or 4th file and look at the table of contents.
Mhm.
And the easy way to pick that out is it's the smallest file. Because it's only 2 or 3 pages.
Okay. All right. So there should be quite a bit of data, whether it's from Kinder Morgan or from other folks, about what putting in a pipeline of that size, what kind of impact
Yeah.
people are thinking it is.
I've seen some stuff that's already out there,
Yeah.
but it wasn't from Kinder Morgan, like a plan per se.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have seen suggestions of sort of the impact zone.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else got questions? So I think I told you that I've been gathering abutter information.
Yes.
So as we encounter or you encounter parcels that we think are interesting.
Mhm.
So I do know in the corner, the northwestern corner of Gilmore Hill, our property comes together with the MVD property, comes together with Atrium Medical, which used to be Norton Systems on the, and then there is,
North side?
yeah, north.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then there's the folks who live on Scott Drive. They have their homeowners association has a parcel. It all comes together.
Okay.
So if you need to
I
reach
think I can
any-
kind of pictures. I was looking at parcel data today.
Yeah, so if you look at our GIS website, you'll notice that we don't show the Eversource piece spelled out separately.
Right.
Because we just discovered that. We all thought it was our property altogether. So, but if you see that you're in that area and you need to talk to or get to, then let me know,
Okay.
because we can facilitate that.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
And of course, the MVD folks have already told us that you could do whatever you need to do there. So,
Yeah.
so I should probably give you that contact.
Yeah, that would be
information.
good just to see, what do they need from me? Just when
Yeah.
all of a sudden I drive up and this guy's walking off out in the woods.
Right,
Who
exactly.
the heck is that?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be wearing my badge, obviously, but I'd like to go in and introduce myself and give them, like my make and model of my truck. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, because the water, there's so much water now in Gilmore Hill that you'd have to go around and get in from their property in order to get
to,
down
to get to the okay.
where the wetland is.
That's good to know.
So yeah, you find that you all the way out there and go, oh, I can't go any further, right? It hasn't changed, right? So
You could get down there.
You're,
yeah, you do have to dance around a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not a convenient walk, but
Yeah.
especially now that things are thawing a bit, it's going to be even more difficult.
Yeah, I mean you can't go across the ice anymore, or maybe you can for a short time. So yeah.
It was
Um,
pretty thick.
Yeah, we're going to have a new meeting for mud
Okay.
season this year.
Oh, yeah.
So Jeff, there was a concern at our last meeting that we get into this, you file your report, September comes along, or October or December when Kinder Morgan files their final application,
Mhm.
and we start looking at that, and we start looking at what they submit with their information and what we have, and we find discrepancies. We may need you to help us
Yep.
even after this is done.
Anticipate that.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that you were aware of that,
Yep.
or we may have to resolve conflicts. They may claim one thing, we may claim another, and we may need you to advise, what your thought is.
Yep.
So just
Absolutely.
wanted to put that on your radar screen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this activity for us is going to continue well into next year in different ways.
Probably so. It's not going to be something easy to resolve. It's not going to
Yeah.
be an overnight fix. So,
Yeah.
and I think there's several communities that are in the same boat
Mhm.
as you. Have been talking to a few and providing some advice here and there and some presentations. So,
Yeah, so we may want to wrap up our formal relationship with some way to put you on retainer or call or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I don't know if
Happy
you've
to
ever
do that.
done that before or whatever, but
I
just
have.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's no problem.
Okay. What else did I have? That's all that I had for questions and comments. Anyone else have any other thoughts? Have you all had a chance to look at things? Have you had a chance to look at the biodiversity plan to get a feel for things? And that was a much wider swipe.
Yeah, that was a town-wide
Yeah,
scope.
yeah. So, as we've talked about, our thought here is this is all about the entire parcels.
Right.
So yes, we're concentrating where where we think the impact might be, but on Horse Hill, it's a much bigger parcel, and we want to make sure that we do the wetlands there as well. You find the north end of that property with the beaver dams on the Watson property, this caused changes in the water system as well on our property.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so we'll take a look at the whole property then.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, with a focus around the
yeah.
right-of-way and,
Yeah.
and adjacent areas
Yeah.
for more directed surveys.
So on the west,
The driver between separating out the two parcels, so when this is done, we still have a document that says, okay, this is what's on that property, regardless of whatever project's going on.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, so there'll be a report for
Right.
each one. That may take a little bit longer. I don't see that as being any obstacle at all.
Okay.
So, and I think that is important. That way you have a separate document. So later down the line, 10, 20 years from now, somebody opens up the file to look at Gilmore Hill, here's all the work that's been done there.
Right,
So it's
exactly.
pertinent to that particular property. Trying to find the information in one document, where's that going to sit, and
Mhm.
somebody going to know that there's Gilmore Hill Forest stuff in that particular. So, yeah, I think it's most appropriate.
So there's also a housing development going on the west side of Blodgett Hill,
Okay.
just off our property,
Okay.
which they've done a lot of tree clearing already. I know there's been some limited blasting and road work being done.
Oh, okay.
But over the spring, you might see changes in the animal.
Okay.
The way they've gone about doing things has probably changed now that land is going to be opened up and be a
Yeah.
lot busier. So
Yeah.
I suspect that side of Horse Hill is going to see many changes.
Okay.
And I know some of that area was thought at one time to be Black Racer area and stuff like that too. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
And
You know,
so those are-
that's another point when if the pipeline does go through a piece of property, I mean, when that machinery goes in and stuff like that, that wildlife, some of it, the deer will move. I mean, I've seen it happen just from the forestry project at Greater Woods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of deer moved into the middle of the BB Lane Circle, and I'm sure in other outlying areas for a couple of years until that was settled down, and then they moved back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're short and long-term
Yeah.
impacts.
Mhm.
Even like I said, even with the forestry project, you're altering the habitat, you're changing it, from what it was. So
Now, is there any impact to what he's doing with regard to the mitigation property that was never filed, the easements weren't filed, or whatever were required to be filed?
Is there any impact with? So he's going to be looking at that parcel.
Okay,
Part of Horse Hill. So the part of Horse Hill that's along Natticook Road by Greens Pond Road, the dirt road.
yeah.
We used to call it the duck pond.
Okay.
I don't know, the goose pond, because the goose used to lay there. They used to
they
nest.
still do.
They still do, right. So that approximate 50 acres, which is the southeastern portion of Horse Hill, it's a big wet area.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I saw lease bittern in there when I
Yeah.
was, and yeah, there was geese
yeah.
out there with their little goslings.
So that 50 acres of land was bought with EPA dollars.
Oh, okay.
And we're trying to put a protective easement on it like we were supposed to do back in 2002 when the money was brought in and it was purchased for it. So I guess you just wanted to make sure that he was covering that part of Horse Hill. Well, yeah.
And that he knew that we were in the we've instructed the attorney to do whatever needed to be done to get those covenants in place.
Yeah. So
Are there any other areas of Horse Hill that are permanent protection?
No.
Okay.
no.
Gilmore Hill.
Gil-
That's
Gilmore is only what's in the deed.
okay. It's okay. Protected through deed. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then it just says for conservation.
Yeah.
And there are a few things you can't do out there. There's no firearms, no shooting allowed out there.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All right.
That-
I was
that-
just wondering if there was any sort of conservation easements.
No.
Generally, you have to do a baseline documentation report. There could be some interesting information in there.
mhm.
So, I didn't think there was, but
No.
okay.
no. I would say, when the property was purchased, there was reluctance to have strings attached to parcels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now it probably would have been an appropriate thing to have done.
Hindsight being 20/20.
Yeah. But that's the way the town was, so.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? Anything you want to share with me?
I have a curiosity question.
Okay.
A couple of us went out this past weekend and cleaned out wood duck boxes
Oh.
and rebedded them. And Long Pond has the heron rookery.
Okay, yeah.
You know, the 9 heron. 2 of the herons were in the nests on Saturday.
Really?
Is that normal?
It's a little early, but you guys have had a little bit more snow melt over here than in my way.
Yeah.
So much open water out there yet? No,
Zero.
I didn't think there would be.
No.
It's been cold and a lot of snow. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I'd be curious to see. I plan on to get out there into this week, beginning of next week. So, be curious to see if they're still there.
Mhm.
Thought is, they won't be if there's no food supply.
Right.
You know, maybe hanging out by the rivers. You know, that's where they're getting their food supply. But obviously, they probably were. Those are natal sites for those herons. So
Get to see some of
that is
boxes.
interesting.
Yeah, I put a
Yeah.
couple new boxes, but I was,
Yeah.
you know, I was there to rebed the old boxes, and I was walking, and I was like, "What is that up there?" And I was like, "Ah, it must be
It
snow." It
seems
was,
a little.
it was pouring too,
Yeah.
so you know, I couldn't see. And then when I got closer, and he took off, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
Yeah. It had warmed up quite a bit. There's a lot of melt, especially in the rivers, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, it's frozen solid
Yeah.
out there.
My guess is they won't be there when I head back out there. I'd be surprised if they still are, though. Setting up a little early this year.
They're a little fed up with the timetable too.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's either have it's first dibs, right?
Yeah.
He flew from up here.
Oh, you got pictures of it?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I'll let you know what I find.
Okay. I just thought I've never seen them out there this time of year.
No, not this early.
I'm out on that pond all winter. I've never seen them.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes you just never know, you know? The unexpected always pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Welcome aboard.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the interest. Looking forward to it, and it's good since I already have a good base knowledge of what's going on out there, so it's going to make work a lot more efficient. We can dig down in a little bit more detail
Good.
this time around. So.
That's what made you the obvious candidate.
That's good.
That and our good experience with you.
Oh, that's great. Well, I had a lot of fun working with you guys. Just by the way, where's Andy these days?
In his camp.
He moved up to Danbury?
Well,
No, he
Sorta.
still has a home here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know that place was really near and dear to his heart.
I think he's calling his house here camp now.
This is the camp here, and home is up there, right? All right. Just thought I'd ask.
His father-in-law died a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
So.
Yeah.
he was living with him for a while.
Well,
wasn't he?
he's been in a home for the last 4 years, I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
3 or 4 years.
but his younger son still has a home here with the family here. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, so he's got the connection still.
Yep.
All right.
good, great.
All right. Well, it's nice
Thank
to
you,
see
sir.
everyone.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I'll be in touch.
All right, and I'll get your contract to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Great. Thanks.
All right. Have a nice evening.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, so that takes us with Jeff and brings us back to the pipeline in general. So, a letter to FERC. I'm going to crank up this, sorry, I'm not trying to. So.
Is this the one that's loose here?
Yeah. I don't have it on yet, so.
Really laugh. I gave way and I just fell across the floor. Comedic relief for the evening.
So between meetings, since our last meeting, I got it out late. Drafted a letter for FERC based on our our previous meeting. Basically, we wanted to address the fact that we felt we were stakeholders in the situation. We wanted to express our opposition to,
Yeah. We need a little bit of it.
yeah, we do need a little bit of it, so.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So we've got a few slightly different versions of this letter.
Which is the one you sent back out today?
So I did not print off my latest update.
I got the one without the changes.
Yeah, I do as well.
I have today's. This is the one I think you sent out today.
Yeah, so, and then Tom,
Well, I have the one with
Tom
the
made some
changes,
minor
with more
edits.
changes.
Okay.
So,
Right.
So-
That's the one you just sent. You just sent that a little while ago.
yeah, it wasn't, 4 o'clock maybe?
You got a copy for everybody?
Yes.
yeah, I'm gonna put it up on the screen. So, this is draft A. You interested? See, that's changed, okay, so don't,
Tim?
yep. Alright, so this is the most current draft.
Yeah, it's B and C.
Yep. You wanna share?
There's only 5 copies.
Shouldn't be confusing. There shouldn't be.
This is the one I'm gonna put on the screen. Sorry. So, the gist of the letter hasn't changed through the 3 versions. Just so that everyone's aware. This is gonna be hard because I can't quite see.
Is it?
Yeah, what I
Another combination.
no, I just need to get to where I can get this guy a little bit smaller.
The other one's gonna be really bright. Gotta be
Just
one of these,
close
either
out.
that or that. This
Like
one.
the first that one.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Do it again.
I'm gonna start dancing now.
That's nice, Mike.
Everybody bring a candle.
There you go. If you want it, you can. All right. So this is Tom's version, the red line version that we all have.
Oh, this is Tom's right here.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Tom's right there. That's the one with the red updates.
Right.
So since I have this document here, we can make live edits, and Tom believes we can actually print it and sign it tonight.
Okay.
So,
God, I hope so. Since I already said we could be able to do that.
yeah.
Well, the copy machine has 2 USB drives on it, so you can plug a thumb drive into it and download a file, and it'll print it.
Okay.
I've only done that once. The second time I tried it, it wouldn't do it because of the formatting of the file. But
All right. So the beginning of the document, the first paragraph is just, telling FERC who we are, that we are chartered by state law, and then it gets into stating why we believe we are primary stakeholders in the parcels. I think that's pretty straightforward. Tom changed the word slightly. Has everyone had a chance to see it?
Yeah. I definitely wanted to go R. Same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, if we're gonna change things as we go.
We can.
Right. So you made the reference to GDP, TGP up top.
Yeah.
So you can get rid of the Tennessee Gas and Pipeline.
Okay. Do you want to go?
Well, you're doing it in other places. We said
Yeah.
the MCC, Merrimack Conservation Commission, and then we start referring to it as MCC. So that
Yeah. So what I was doing that for emphasis, spelling it all the way out, but I'm happy to take it out.
I mean
Yeah.
it's a formatting issue. So it's
Yeah.
not really. It's either way. I don't really have a concern one way or the other. That's the way we did it for seemingly the rest of the commission, the Conservation Commission.
Where's my caps? T. That. So everyone good with that edit? We are primary stakeholders, all right?
Back to the peanut gallery.
Yeah,
So you have Ned project in quotes in the parentheses. Probably just want to get rid of the quote on the first paragraph.
yeah,
Probably just want to put in parentheses Ned, and then just use Ned.
yeah.
Get rid of the quotes.
All right.
And the quotations, yeah.
You may wanna
Yeah, I'll
put
get it.
Didn't know-
Ned,
don't
like,
know.
right after Northeast Energy Direct, Ned, and then pipeline. Could you say Ned pipeline later?
Yeah.
This is worse than backseat driver, isn't it? No, not you. It's
No,
we're
no,
all
no,
doing
no,
it.
no, no.
So you
It's-
think
it's
we should put
murder
Ned up
trying to
here, right?
dredge up
Yeah,
Strunk and White
right
after
after
all
Northeast
these
Energy
years.
Direct.
You know, it just kills you.
Yeah, this is document.
Actually, it probably should go right after Northeast Direct, Energy Direct.
Yep.
Direct, open
Yeah.
parents, NED, closed parents pipeline.
Sorry. Did I get it right, or do I need a space?
You need a space there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Is that a comma after that?
it is a comma.
Yeah, that doesn't need to be there.
Phrases. Are we good with this edit? Should have an intimate, expect to have a significant.
Yeah,
It's a little more direct. I'm good with direct.
No, it's assertive.
Sort of. Yeah, there you go. Right.
We're still polite.
Absolutely. And then change everything to will.
Do we have a date for the Gilmore Hill deed?
The actual date of signing. I just put the year, right? Didn't I?
What's this? Because we referenced the Horse Hill Nature Preserve with dates. I didn't know if we wanted to just put.
I thought I put in was just years, didn't I?
Right. You just it was just years, and it's like stated in the 1997 deed for Gilmore Hill or something. I didn't know if you wanted to.
It's up here.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. All right.
You know, now that I look at that, where you have the cursor, Tim.
See, that will probably doesn't fit very well, does it?
No, but wait a minute. I have a. Oh, I had it. And now it's gone.
I think I
Jesus.
like it better with intend to.
We will acquaint your commission with the many concerns.
We'll acquaint your commission with the main.
With your commission at every opportunity to process. Yeah. You want me to back it out and we can look at it what it used to be?
We will acquaint. We will acquaint your commission.
With the many concerns.
We will acquaint. Commission of the many concerns involved. Yeah, something.
Sounds weird.
We can make concerns. Crap.
And you can take I'd suggest taking involves out where it says the proposed route involves, and I would suggest taking involves out and inserting has, H-A-S.
Here, right?
Yeah,
A-S, H-A-S?
yeah.
As for our two impacted properties, yeah.
It reads a little smoother. But if you want to, look, there's no magic to
Fine.
the word.
No,
you
no.
know?
I have no pride here, so feel free
No,
to
well,
suggest
same-
away. Yep.
Same here, okay?
Yep.
If it,
Because we're gonna, at the end of the day, the message is the same, so I don't care if we twiddle words here. Does that sound the way you want it?
Maybe the last sentence to highlight, instead of these concerns, the following concerns, since you're doing full list.
yeah,
All right, the following concerns, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, the wording changed a little, so it flows different now. Yeah, so, but then it doesn't sound right. So to highlight, see, what I was getting at is I wanted to highlight some of the concerns, but I didn't want to let everything out of the bag yet, because I didn't know them all when I was putting it together anyway, so. Should we say to highlight here are some of the concerns? Because
Yeah, I would just get rid of the. We will acquaint the commission with many concerns. I'm
Yeah.
not saying the many concerns, it's just many of them, not all of them, just many of them. We've got more.
we'll acquaint your commission with many concerns, though. Many of the concerns.
Many,
Here we go.
Yep.
Probably then just get rid of a lot of this to highlight, say which include but are not limited to. And just
Yeah.
make that all part of the
Yep.
same thing.
Yep.
Okay.
much more efficient.
Yeah, I tend to get overly wordy and then I go back and start deleting out whole
Oh.
phrases.
I know the feeling. If you want, you put a comma after include and a comma after not.
Here?
Yeah,
After not?
no, after limited, I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Fine,
Yeah.
take it out then.
Okay.
No, the first one's good.
Okay. So so you added wildlife to observation areas?
I just,
Yeah.
I-
Yeah, I left it,
Same thing.
okay. Yeah, because I left it at just observation areas, because not all of them are for wildlife, but that works. It's fine.
I could just say wildlife trails, comma.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine the way it is. I just wanted to let you know that I did consider that, but I like the bench for Harold. That's just to get a good glimpse of his property from up there.
Yeah.
You could be looking at wildlife. You could be looking at the stream water system, all that. So, but no problem. I like that must. That's a good way of just being right to the point. So in this point, you'll see that I spelled out Merrimack Conservation Commission, and then I went back to MCC, because I wanted to be really clear here, drive the home point that it's, we are, I didn't want to obscure our.
We could go back and
Yeah.
change the other one back. I'm just
No,
saying
no,
that
no,
this-
I
I'm
just-
seeing the,
Yeah, just wanted to let you know that I thought that one in particular needed to be spelled out, because I wanted to make a strong point there, which you all have actually made stronger by the wording changes. So I'm just taking out some of these things just so it's easier to read it. Tell me if I should stop. And realize this can be the first of many comments.
Yeah.
This is not the end-all, be-all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want this thing to go 10 pages and get obscured and someone, oh yeah, they're rambling now. And it finds itself in a file somewhere. So,
You got to drop that S on hold.
S on.
Second line, halfway across.
Your commission holds.
In this paragraph or up higher?
Right there, come across.
Oh.
Yeah. And take the
Okay,
S
so-
out of there.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Now,
Did you want me to emphasize scoping somehow?
you could capitalize it.
Yeah.
Capitalize scoping meeting. Because I think
It's
it may even have that in their own documents.
capitalize the meeting too.
Yeah, I would. The other thing I would suggest is that we prepare a separate request focused on the scoping meeting, because it's going to get buried in here.
You're right, it does. But, so when I was putting the document together, I was kind of building up to this idea of asking for a scoping meeting, trying to tell them why it's important that we have a scoping meeting, so that's why I kind of ended the letter with, we want a scoping meeting. But I have no objections to doing a separate request as well.
I would leave it here though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I think so.
absolutely.
It covers the bases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brent?
Because it's similar to the approach the council's taking, and with a larger letter and then a separate one.
Okay, it's all now in black text, so we don't have red, or do we want to use red for emphasis?
No.
Because I can scan in color.
It's gonna get printed and someone's gonna go print the grayscale,
Right.
so.
So I left one more line just in case we had one more person present, but I will take it out now since we're doing an edit. Where's the top? Oh, there's the top of my page. It's on the ceiling. Cool.
Yeah, just need to move the projector in.
Save it, but then I'd also save it as a PDF, because that might be the only way that printer will accept it.
Yeah.
As a PDF.
You're about to save in a new file format. Okay. Here you are, you're on the ceiling again. Come on down. Okay, we want to take a crack at this, take a 5-minute recess and try and print this baby off?
Sure. You got a thumb drive there? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was doing the edits on the thumb drive. It's safe.
You reject those?
I do eject. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It is now 8:33 p.m. We have a hard copy of the letter we just edited, and we all need to scribble on it. Pen's working? Good. I'll send it one way and go that way. And so what I'll do is I will scan this document and submit the scan through the e-file process. So it gets where it's got to go. I'll forward a copy to all of you. I'll forward a copy to Eileen and the town council so they're aware of what we're doing. If they like, they can post it on the town website, which is probably an appropriate thing to do.
I was gonna say, Cindy's is probably the only signature that we can read.
Had to laugh when they started insisting that they teach the Palmer method of handwriting in some schools.
I'm not familiar with what that is, so, but,
I am,
yeah, okay.
and you know what? No impact.
Yeah.
Best pens ever. Zebra 301s.
All right. There you go.
Buy about 24 pack.
Here we go.
Awesome.
Cool. All right.
Small. It's in my pocket. It's like a full-size pen. You put it in, it's like sitting way up here. I hate that.
In fact, I can print faster.
Okay, so
My handwriting was so bad.
now that we've got the letter worked out, what else any other items you want to discuss right now under this agenda item? I mean, I already noted at the beginning of the meeting that there is a meeting next Thursday. We've been asked if we'd like to submit early questions. Anyone have any specific questions they'd like to submit early? I mean, the intent is, my understanding is Kinder Morgan will do a 10 or 15-minute overview. I suspect the town wants to ask a few questions and then leave the majority of the time for the public to ask their questions. I think that's
Roughly the,
roughly
that's
it,
roughly the,
yeah. It depends on you know, how much, you know, Kinder Morgan wants to elaborate on the early questions they get, but
you know,
I suspect they won't
And it
elaborate
will
very
be-
much.
you know, it will be moderated by Lynn Christensen.
Ah, cool. There you go. Good idea.
Yes,
Yes. Lynn knows how to moderate a meeting.
she does. And they were quite happy that all they cared about is that they had a moderator.
Okay. All right.
And
All right. Okay, any questions you want to make sure get asked? Because we will get a slot to ask one or two questions, so. What was on my mind was, and maybe the information's already available, so maybe it's not worth spending the time, was what will we be allowed to do and not do once the pipeline is in place? Since we use our properties for recreation as well as for observations and hiking, and there are motorized uses allowed on Gilmore Hill, I believe, so are we going to be able to do that kind of activity still, that kind of question?
which was a similar one that I had added to our list was, you know, there's a lot of hiking trails and stuff on a lot of this property, and usually these types of easements have no trespassing.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I want to know what kind of maintenance they're planning on. You know, what's the regularity in the maintenance? I mean, how often is there going to be people out there?
Yeah, and will we be notified?
That's
Like
in
the mowing.
the, part of that is in that monster document we got the other day.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen
Okay, and you know, and it of course is in rather broad terms. So the real issue there is the use of herbicides
that. Right.
and those sorts of things.
We have a very we not strict, but we through Bay State have a pretty strict use of types of herbicides under the power lines and such. I mean, they're good about only applying, you know, very specific, safe type products. And the ones that you go back and read through some of their old stuff, they won't even submit to you what they want to use. They won't submit and put on paper what they want to use. So I want to know what's going to be sprayed out there. You know, what's the half-life? What are we supposed to be doing? I mean, you got, you know, right back to issues with the beekeepers that we had. We wanted to go spray something that was pretty relatively docile, and they were, you know, up in arms about it. So
Well, keep in mind that twice in the last 30, 35 years, there have been issues raised about arsenic along utility rights-of-way. And whether that arsenic was a byproduct of the herbicides that they had been using, or was it something that naturally occurred in the type of rock we have in New Hampshire. Okay, so, you know, that's a particular issue,
Yep.
okay, as to what it's leaving behind, especially when it's sitting on top of aquifers. So,
Well, along the same line, I know with PS&H or Eversource, at one point we asked early on that they do their mowings during the winter months, which for them was actually more convenient because it's easier to get their vehicles out there. But we did it because we didn't want disruptions during, the early spring season, mud season, and then later in the year as critters are trying to find their home for the winter. So, can we? We'd like. I suspect if we start doing easement agreements, if we get to that point, that we should try and stipulate some of those requirements right in the easement agreement. I think that's the way we should address some of those things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as long as it's our property, we should put rules down, as opposed to letting them dictate the rules. We could say no herbicides allowed and try to negotiate that into the easement. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't know where that compromise will end up, but at least if we start with that position, I think that's a better way of handling it. So, my other concerns are around, valve stations. Going across Horse Hill, there's a lot of space there. There's going to be some valve spots, I suspect, or pig ins and outs and whatever. They're going to be putting up big fences all around, and lo and behold, it's right in the middle of where we want to do something. So I'd like to see if we have a way we can influence where some of their infrastructure gets placed. I would suspect we could, but
Yeah.
I've not been able to find where the pump stations the compressor stations are going to be. Do we know if there's going to be any in the length of?
There's one in Mason or something?
Yeah, Mason.
Not Merrimack.
And that's it. That's the only one.
Yeah.
I think they only need them like every 20 miles or something.
It depends on the pressure.
right.
As of
Right.
now, that's the only one,
What-
right? They can add them at any time.
There's only
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can go through. They could go through a process.
That's
and
good to
try and-
root.
Yeah. If they put a bunch of chutes off of this thing, they might need to build the pressure back up again.
Now, this is like a different topic, but like, there's eminent domain, and they take the property, whether it's private or conservation land. If the conservation land, there's some kind of mitigation, and if it's private, there's some kind of monetary value to the land given to the landowner. What if, like, we disagree as a conservation commission, and we don't agree with what they come up with, or the landowner doesn't agree? Is there an appeal process, or?
The courts.
Yeah.
That's it.
You go to federal district court.
Right. Yeah, so once, if you can't reach an agreement, it's a legal thing. FERC says that right in their own documentation under eminent domain. They won't get in the middle of the eminent domain proceedings to determine what's an equal or appropriate value. That's between you and them, and then the courts if you don't agree. So.
How appropriate do you think it is to be asking them the questions? This whole thing with relicensing their stations up north for, two-way gas flow. We don't have a spike coming into Merrimack, so it's not really gonna have any impact for us positively. You know where I'm going. This is a for-profit deal, which is okay. I understand that, but when it starts weighing against eminent domain and the public convenience, I just don't see the need. They haven't really justified any kind of need. They've come up with values. Oh, we need an extra couple therms, but okay, well, based on what? Everyone. There was no rolling blackouts during this winter. No one went without heat. Everyone got oil. The price went up. It went down. We just experienced the lowest oil we've had in years. So I'm just not sure I see the need and how that's going to be weighed against public convenience. I don't know. That's not really a question from a conservation commission that really can.
Yeah, I have
we
it
can
written
ask
down
it,
too.
but
How do
not
they
really-
justify it?
yeah.
No.
So
I don't think that's a question they have to answer to us.
No, exactly.
They only have to answer it to FERC.
no, exactly. That's
Yeah, and that's where they have to make their case for the need or the necessity
right.
of this project.
And how seriously has the expansion of existing pipelines been looked at?
Yeah.
And our elected legislature here in New Hampshire has said we need it.
And the governor said that too.
So
Well, that's right. That's
we need
right.
the-
We need gas, but
Yeah.
they didn't say we need this pipeline.
Right.
but we could get gas by fixing all the leaks in Boston too.
There's a time.
Yeah,
I
but
saw
yeah. I
that.
mean, there's plenty. They,
No, make the legislature go year round. We'll have plenty of gas.
I mean, when Harvard did that study, in 2008, they found gas at levels that was explosive, leaks that were at levels that were explosive. It's like, you know.
Yeah, there's leaks all over the
Yeah.
place. It's crazy.
That's the thing. So it's not really a question they can answer. It's not really ask it, but again, that's not they have to answer to us. But it seems like, how can you even consider? You know,
I'm not sure we want to spend
no.
our
Exactly.
limited time with Kinder Morgan asking those high-level questions of them, because questions that they don't have to answer.
Yeah,
They've already been answered
They won't. Yeah.
at
They
a much
won't.
higher level.
And frankly, they don't have to answer to us for those
No,
questions.
they don't.
So, is it a good use of time?
No.
I mean, it's okay to make it a rhetorical question on your way away from the microphone. Right?
Blushing again?
Oh, yeah.
He drops a bomb. He drops a bomb and walks off. It's great.
It's only because I did it recently.
Oh, okay.
It's going to come back to haunt me, isn't it? It's okay. It was intentional.
Was it televised?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. You want to see it? After this meeting, I'll tell you what I did. All
No,
right.
you're getting into, when you
Yeah, I
go
know.
down
I
that
know.
road,
Yeah, it's
You
it's
know,
not.
you're-
It's just that it's I don't know.
Yeah. So,
we're trying to deal with the
Stick with the
But
facts.
Yeah.
the known impacts that we have, and we have some ability to deal with managing it. We're not, energy economists, if you will.
So, if you want to take a message back to the council, it would be my preference that we spend as little time as possible asking questions and let the people just get up and ask their questions.
Oh, I don't, that's one of the reasons why we're submitting stuff ahead of time.
Yeah.
Okay? To do that,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So that there's plenty of, if there's an hour and 45 minutes, we're not going to consume a lot of the hour and 45 minutes.
Some of those things we just brought up, I'm sure will be brought up.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
other people.
No, I do like what you said, though, Tim. What limitations are you going to put on property that currently may not have that limitation?
Yeah.
Because we do use our properties for
Yep.
recreation,
Yeah.
education.
Okay. I will craft that question and send it to Eileen as requested.
That,
So-
and the only other thing I had was emergency response procedures.
Maintenance was mentioned too.
Well, I mean, that's, if it's in that, I didn't see that in the document, and I didn't look through anything in the last couple of days, so.
Emergency response preparations or
Well, procedures,
They-
yeah, preparations, but procedures, I mean, what do you do? Yeah,
They do. The
exactly, so,
utility does.
yeah, so how long did,
What's
Yes.
the time frame?
how long did that take?
Because they gotta
Hour
go
and a
back to either they gotta go back to their pumping station, or they gotta go back to some other place along the way where they have a switch
Yeah.
or a faucet
A
or whatever
valve.
you want to call it.
So,
So you get a 90-minute flamethrower.
Well, it's
36
supposed to
inch high
be
pressure thing.
Yeah, like
well,
Jeez.
volcano.
Let's go
unlike
for it.
unlike the one in California,
Yeah.
okay, which had none of these things on it. This one's supposed to have. So the question will be: are they going to be automatic shutoffs? Okay, so that there's an anomaly in the system, the thing shuts down itself. There's two different kinds of switching that they have an option for. I can't think of the other one, but there's two of them. One of them's the automatic one, and they do address some of that in that initial draft report that they put out in December
Okay.
as to what they were going to do for safety things. Okay. As for the the stuff the fire department has to do, I've already talked to the chief, and he said, he says it's gonna be additional training for us all year. Every year we're gonna have to do, and we're gonna have to drill
And we're gonna have to buy more equipment.
once or twice a year.
We're gonna
Well,
have to buy.
maybe.
We're gonna have to have more people, and we're gonna have to be.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And who's going to be able to
Who's
go?
gonna-
Who's going to unshovel the valves after
Yeah.
they've been snowed in with 8 feet of snow? Yeah.
That's their problem.
36 inch
That's
flame
their
thrower. They'll be. There's no
Oh,
big
yeah,
valve. Yeah.
The other thing you gotta look at, when you look at the plan, you gotta look at where they're putting in their access roads.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
To get to those valves, to get to those stations, to do all these other things, and all that other stuff. I mean, it's not just putting this thing in. There's a lot of infrastructure that goes with it, and you gotta take a look at what that infrastructure is. And when you look at those documents that they've put out so far, you look at it and you go, holy crap.
Yep.
Where's this gonna go? And, is it gonna go across a wetland? Some of it will.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not like here where we can say, oh, no, you can't do that. You gotta find another way.
So the one last question I was thinking about is they're going to impact wetlands in our community. The last thing we want to see is them putting money in an ARM fund and having it being spent up in Berlin or somewhere out in Rochester or something like that. If they're going to have to mitigate wetlands, we're going to want to have them do projects on our property. So I almost hate to say, well, are you planning on putting money in the ARM fund, or are you going to fund local projects? But I'm sure that they know about the ARM fund. They'd be foolish if they didn't. So giving them that thought is probably not a bad thing, because they've probably already considered it. But should we ask that question today, or should we ask that question a little bit further down the road as we get further into this thing?
Ask it now.
Let's see what the.
Yeah. So
Don't have to say why we're asking the question. Of course, if they watch this, which they undoubtedly will.
Right. Well, they should if they're smart. Well, maybe they'll have someone in Normando watching it. Hi, Carrie.
Yeah, right.
No, she's doing the electric line.
Yes.
She's doing Northern Pass. I understand. But anyway,
So the flip side of that, though, is we need to have projects ready to go. So back of your head, come this summertime, we're going to be thinking about what other projects that we want them to do for us. Okay? We need to be ready. They almost need to be, plans in place, ready. I think that's the only way to avoid them. Well, we probably have time until they start construction, but we need to be ready. Because if it becomes hard for them to do a project for us, they'll just write a check.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we put the onus on ourselves. So just keep that in the back of your head. Okay, so basically it's going to be, do you plan to use the ARM fund, or will you consider local projects for wetland mitigation money, activities?
well, pose it as what's your normal practice
Yeah, okay.
or preference. 'Cause
That's true.
that puts more responsibility on them to answer the
Okay.
And
We could
maybe
state our preference, right?
Or we could say, if you get approved for this project. Because if it's not approved yet, we don't want anyone to think that it is approved in the audience, because we're still fighting. And I know FERC's getting a lot of attention too, so I'm hoping that we will be the case where FERC changes some things and it's not the next pipeline. Someone's gonna have to change. They can't just keep approving all these pipelines.
Yeah, well,
want to bet.
find out where the commissioners live and let's propose one.
Right, yeah, exactly.
They can become a NIMBY,
Right, yeah.
right?
Right. Mhm.
Find out where the Kinder Morgan guys live. Put it right through their backyard.
Yeah.
An old one.
How quickly will they retire?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right. So I think it's getting late. Are we done with this agenda item for today? All right. I'll have Ned on the agenda for next meeting so we can continue with items. If there's particular things you want to get to,
Yep.
maybe after the meeting a week from Thursday, we'll have more specifics, so,
It'll be less than a week, and we'll have our next meeting, so.
yeah. Okay. So that takes us to other business. Beaver or management water control activities.
Hold on a second. So, I took the information that we made edits to and got it back to GZA, so they're going to go ahead and start working up a matrix and give us a first pass of the matrix. They got 4 or 5 things that they feel are still outlying, and so they're gonna make all the shape files. They've got they're gonna get us a report, a draft report, so we can review and comment on that, and they're gonna obviously provide the final report with all the GIS data. So they're still waiting for us to get some information on that GIS, because we did talk about that as to how we're gonna do it. So they'll have the shape files available, but if we want them to work with CDM or whoever, they just need to know that. But they are expecting to have that final review or final draft to us by April 1st, and then if we can get our comments and stuff back to them quickly, they'd like to try to close this out by try to get back the final report to us by the 20th with our comments and stuff on there. So it's going to be up to us a little bit to meet their timeline, but they're trying to close this. They're trying to get this closed out too. So.
Okay, yeah, because we're also running up to the max
Right.
budget too.
Yeah.
So, okay. Good with that? Duck boxes. That's a duck box, huh?
Cheers. So we received the shipment from our supply. Oh yeah, thanks. We received the shipment of 12 duck boxes. 2 more than we had expected because it was a better shipment for him. And having spoke with the contractor that does them, he was really supportive of what we're doing as a conservation commission. He was actually anxious to hear if the yield from our boxes, egg yield from our boxes, is better than the other boxes. So he's a very motivated and competitive kind of guy. He
Where's he
seems
out
to think Minnesota,
It's probably right in there, isn't it?
and they have a lot of wood ducks.
Yeah, you might want to pick it up for the audience. So if you guys see these out here on our properties, they're there for a reason.
So we, Mike and I
Done?
put up 5 boxes in Greater Woods. 3 different ponds in Greater Woods. Varied them, height, orientation, all the things that you're supposed to do. We also installed 2 on Greens Pond, and 3 on Long Pond.
Did you take GPS coordinates?
No, we did paces.
That works well in summer.
They did it the old-fashioned way.
So it's keeping right in line with how they were monitored before.
I thought that was great. That's what I would have done it, probably.
Hey, there's still deeds out there with links and chains. Come on.
Oh yeah.
We found some other remnants of wood duck boxes out there as well, which is pretty interesting. So we, where we found things like that, Mike and I found one on at Greater Woods. We put it in the same location just to kind of keep the tradition.
Is there any kind of recommendation to how many per square, pond size per acres or anything like that?
No, so I used a lot of different I cited a lot of different studies, and there were people that said duck boxes on either side of the tree, you know, one tree, 2 duck boxes, and they've had yield in both boxes. So they don't care how close they are. They don't care what direction they're pointed in. It's easier for them to find if it's along a migratory path. But that's really the only recommendation. Doesn't matter if it's southern exposure, north that doesn't matter. They just said try to keep the hole, the entrance hole, away from the weather facing
Prevailing wind.
direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's northeast or northwest for this area.
Mm-hmm.
So I just tried not to put that. Tried to not to put the hole facing northwest.
Mm-hmm.
That was all we did. But we put them close to beaver dams, away from the beaver dams. You know, we varied it significantly. We saw, like I said, we saw herons, we saw deer out there while we were hanging them. So it was pretty good, you know, experience out there.
Good. Anything else on this item? Police patrols on Greater Woods. Remember we were supposed to get back to the police by mud season, right? So we could keep that going. Is that something your subcommittee's working?
Yeah, we have the pamphlet draft going. We don't have a meeting tomorrow, or it's usually third Thursday. We're gonna have the meeting in April, so we plan to have it done for that meeting, so that the subcommittee can bless it and get it to you. And I think that'll be by April. I think that'll be plenty of time. They're not gonna be out there April 1st patrolling.
Well, the season's not going to be over by then
No,
anyway.
That's
so.
2 weeks.
Yeah. So I think we'll have it by April.
Mm-hmm.
If you need it earlier,
I don't think so.
okay.
No.
We could skip the subcommittee level and look at it here, but I think we'll have time to get it through the subcommittee
Mm-hmm.
and bring it here for May, the first May meeting, and then get it to
Okay.
police for patrol.
All right. So I'll have to close the loop with them about how often and what they've been able to dig out for data, so that way we can have a constructive meeting the next time and set our plan. So, but I figured if I started that conversation, they'd be asking, well, how's the pamphlet coming? So I wanted to.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
We've got a draft, so
Yeah.
I think we'll be in good shape.
Okay. All right. Additional trail markers. So when we were here last meeting, Andrew said that he needed, how many did we decide? Is it 400? Right, and you learned that we can get 197?
We can get 290
Okay.
shapes per sheet.
Per sheet, okay.
So do we want to do 2 and have extra, or do we want to do 1 and try to dip into the other subcommittee's supplies?
We're not gonna mark less trails over the next couple of years. You know, we're 290. You said, right? So we're talking almost 600. That'd be another full trail, just about with 200 signs.
Yeah, I mean, you got a trail that you've been working on. You know, you're always working on trails, so.
Yeah. The Skyline Trail will probably need to be marked with the
Yeah.
same color,
Right.
and we don't have that yet, so.
Might as well get it.
Okay.
It
So,
seems silly to try to buy it and know we're not buying enough,
Yeah.
right.
and you're not going to buy a half sheet. So
All right, and they were, what, $160 a sheet or something like that before,
I think it's 167.
plus setup fee or something?
Yeah, which
whatever,
she
yeah.
didn't charge us
Right,
last time,
right,
so.
right. All right,
I thought the setup fee was the one-time thing. Once he gets it all programmed, then it's just
I don't know.
Maybe that's why I didn't charge it, so.
Okay. So we'll authorize Matt to go forward with getting 2 sheets of the blue triangles to Fund 53. And Gage seconds that motion?
Yes, I second that motion.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. So that passes 6-0. Cool. Do you mind coordinating that?
Shoot him.
Sorry to, yeah, okay. Cool. Yeah, all right. What else do I have? Just a couple of things came in correspondence-wise. Saving Special Places is coming up shortly. In case anyone's interested. It's coming up in April 11th. You can go online and look at it too. It's a all-day affair. This one is not typically covered by the commission, so, or by the town, or whatever, or by our budget, I should say. Okay. The other item is that Society for Protection of New Hampshire Forests wrote us a letter thanking us for our $250 renewal that we do every year. So if you'd like to read it, it's pretty straightforward, or I can scan it and send it, whatever. So, and that's all I have for other items. Anyone else have anything else under other?
No.
All right. So that takes us to minutes. We have 3 sets.
Move the minutes of January 5th.
Okay. Is there with a
Second?
All right. So anyone got corrections?
I had one correction, and I do believe that it was an error on Tracy's part. On line, page 2, line 19. I went back and looked at the film, and she did say 5, but we installed 4 devices in 3 locations.
Sorry, page 2, line 19, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's not an error at all in the notes, it's an error in it's a factual error. So I don't know how we want to handle that, but.
Well, yeah, I have no objections to changing it.
Yeah.
Could she possibly meant that in one of the locations we did?
2.
2.
We have 3 locations, one of them has 2 devices, there's 4.
Are there 2 locations maybe with 2 devices? Okay.
Not yet. So.
Okay. Anyone have anything else? So I have a few. Page 3, line 37. Right at the end of that sentence, there should be a word "to" added in between continuing and flow. So it should say back pressure because they are continuing to flow. Down to line 51 on page 3, same page. Is it hitchin or hitching?
I believe it's Hitchin.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I thought I would ask.
It's Hitchin.
Yeah. All right, take us to page 4, line 26. In the middle of there is the word dissatisfied, and I don't think that's what was meant. So it says Continental Boulevard, comma, which occasionally becomes plugged if at the Natticook Road extension. If dissatisfied at the Natticook Road extension, if.
Yeah.
I think it worked.
You could just say, just becomes.
Maybe what he
Occasionally
said.
becomes plugged.
Okay.
Well, I think he was referring to the beaver.
Okay.
That so if they're dissatisfied, they move
Okay.
and go up and at the other end.
Right.
So I
I'm happy to leave it.
Yeah.
So on the same page, page 4, line 47, it's Ms. Tar. Be
Right.
consistent?
Oh, yeah.
she does not look anything like Mr. Tar.
No, she doesn't. And then on line 53, at the very end, there should be the word "it" added, so it should say Chairman Tenhave stated it was done in the current year.
Missed a lot, huh?
So page 5, line 15, muskrat is capitalized. Do we want it capitalized? Beaver is not in that same paragraph.
No,
So I would
no,
think
I-
muskrat should
that's
be a lowercase m, right? And then on line 20, same page, page 5, when asked, Mr. Jacobs stated his belief that should be added. So his belief that all his comments have been addressed. I believe so. And then a little bit further down on line 22, structure and the potential for catastrophic loss on Turkey Hill Road if the dam goes, I think is what you have stated.
Okay.
Because I don't think the catastrophic loss would be on Turkey Hill itself. Turkey Hill is a land feature there.
Yeah. So you app goes to on, is that what you're saying?
That goes to on and then add road at the end. Turkey Hill Road,
Oh,
if the
okay.
dam goes. Maybe you didn't actually state road, you probably just said Turkey
right.
Hill,
Probably.
but the intent was Turkey Hill Road. All right, page 6.
I just have one on line, page
Sure.
5, line
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
There are 3 major options that have been identified.
That or talked about or something like that?
Yeah, just looked funny that
Right.
have been talked.
Yeah, probably add the word about, that's probably, yeah. Okay, page 6, line 30. Right in the beginning, so I'm going to start it in line 29 with moving to the web-based system, just for field data. So the word system should be added after based.
And 37.
Say that again.
You're on page 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, line 37. If the commission wished for its own, I think the word one is missing there. If the commission wished one for its own.
Or come.
Or just a comma after own?
Yeah.
I mean, she's referring to the GIS, or a GIS platform. If we want our own. So just a comma after own?
Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, comma after own at the end of the line. All right, there's a couple of places where spaces are missing between paragraphs, and one of them is on page 8 at line 57. And then another one goes all the way out at page 11. There's one between 49 and 50. Should be a space or an added line or something like that. So
And line, we should say page 8, line what, 57?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Between 57 and 58, there should be a new line there. And the same would be on page 11 between lines 49 and 50. On page 11, though, at the top on line 2, email, do we want it hyphenated? It's typically not anymore. So, and that's what I have on these minutes.
On line 28 on page 11.
Yeah.
I mean, we probably did say the 19th, but the commission, our meeting was actually on the 26th.
Say that again?
On line 28, where it says
Right.
which would not be possible until after the commission's meeting on January 19th,
Yeah?
but we actually didn't meet until we met on the 26th.
Oh,
I think we weren't sure when we were talking about this. We thought
yeah.
that was our next meeting, but it was actually the 26th.
It works for me. Right, any more changes on January the 5th? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions? Passes 600. Tom, you approve, accepted? Yeah, okay. All right, that takes us to January 26th.
Motion to approve the minutes is amended.
Second. Okay, moved by Gage, seconded by Mike. Anyone have changes, adjustments? I have a few. All right, so page 2, line 12. Right in the middle, it says Mr. Furwida responded no, comma, they want to put, the word in should be added. They want to put in a good footing underneath. So between put and a, put an in. And then on the same page, all the way down at line 52, that first word should be most. Going further then to page 3, line 30. Question whether retail sales occur on site, comma, and was informed that activity does not take place on site. I think the word not has to be added, because that's what we were told, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Continuing on then to page 4, on line 48. Right towards the end, it should say but until that is in place instead of us. Going further, there's a space thing on page 9 between lines 2 and 3. It just might be the way to print it or something too, because sometimes things print a little different. So that could be the reason why those spaces look out of place on ours. But that's all I had.
Yep.
Cindy? You have a better editor over there than me, I'm glad. We have a good editor over there.
Oh. There's on 10, page 10, line 56. There
Yep.
was some discussion about a forestry project the club wishes to undertaken.
Oh, undertake, yeah.
Undertake.
I too am
You, what's you're odd? Oh yeah, you only got the odds.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh no, that's right.
Yeah, I got that too.
Oh, I got that too.
You know,
Yep, that's.
Oh,
This is
are we
the old
good?
one.
all right, all those in favor of the minutes of January 26th as amended? Aye.
Aye.
It passes 600. Okay, so that takes us to March the 2nd.
I didn't get into these, so.
I move them with amendments. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Matt, okay. So on page 1, line 20, Katie Weiss is from Bedford Design Consultants Incorporated. The word Bedford should be added, and it also shows up again on line 9 on page 2. So she may have just put Design Consultants on the sign-in sheet, but the firm is Bedford Design Consultants. Where else? Or is there else?
Page 3,
Okay.
line 49. Vice Chairman Karen spoke of I think the lack of visibility makes a lot more sense. The visibility of white signs.
No, actually, during the summer, you can see the white ones.
Yeah.
It's in the winter, you can't.
Right. But I thought that's what he was getting at. You can see them in the winter.
That's
I'll go to
covered
this side
in
That's
for
covered-
someone.
52.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
covered a
yeah.
little bit further
Read
down.
down a little further.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. Uh, Again, I see a little spacing on page 10 between lines 2 and 3, but again, that just might be the way it came across. But I do see a fix on page 11, line 24. At the end of the motion, and I believe that funds are available in Fund 53. The number 53 should be added at the end of line 25. And that's all I have.
Tim?
Yeah.
Page 10, line 28. Says wells 3 and 4 are the only four we have to get that line through to the river. I think that was a little bit more expansive than that. So I'd like to amend that, the distance between the edges of the wellhead protection area between wells 3 and 4 are the only hole they, meaning Tennessee Gas, have to get the gas line through to the river.
Okay, can you turn on your mic and repeat that for the minutes taker?
Sorry. On line 28, I think it should read the distance between...
Page 10?
Page 10, line 28. The distance between the edges of the wellhead protection area between wells 3 and 4 are the only hole they, meaning Tennessee Gas, have to get that line, meaning the gas pipeline, through to the river.
Okay. Anything else?
Also on page 11, line 53, Robinson should be Robertson.
Okay.
Robertson.
What'd you say, page? Which page?
11. Line 53.
All right. Guess we should spell Wes's name right. Huh? He is the chair of the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, too. Chair of the board.
That's right.
Oh, Wes is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
All right, anything else for March 2nd?
No, good.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 6-0-0. I did note in our agenda that that the only February meeting was canceled, just in case people were wondering why the minutes didn't show up there. Public comment, the public is left. Commissioner comments? Cindy?
I don't have any.
Matt? Gage?
The weather is getting warmer. I was out on, you said you were out this weekend too, and you were having no problem, but I've been a couple places this last weekend that the ice is actually starting to get thin. So be careful where the moving water is, and keep your eye on where the channels be, because the ice is actually starting to thin out.
Yeah, and if you get close to trees and stumps, they hold heat, and the ice will be thinner around trees and stumps. So be careful. Right? You probably encountered that, or maybe you could have.
Yeah. Well, we had to be there to hang
Yeah.
duck boxes on them.
Yeah. So
Yeah, one of the more clear places in my yard is around the tree trunks.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
They're dark.
People don't think about that, but it does happen. Yeah. You go out on the ice and you get close to a tree stump or even a stick coming through the ice, and yeah. I remember that from my pond hockey days.
And then you'll get some arbitrary spring or something, and
That's
all of a
right.
sudden there's thin ice, and
Yeah.
it's unpredictable.
Yeah, the pond, on my property, the ice is melted out, so, because it's getting fresh water flow into it. Groundwater's coming up because the table's so high right now. So, yeah.
Better go check my basement.
So, all right. Anything else?
No.
Tom?
Yeah, I don't know. Did you have anything, Mike? I'm sorry. We were talking about the documents that Kinder Morgan submitted last Friday to FERC. And these documents cover the entire project from Pennsylvania all the way to Massachusetts. So there's separate sections in there for each segment and each state. Okay? So that's what makes this thing such a huge document to go through. And to try and figure out, pick and choose where you are, takes a little bit of work. But anyway, just to give you an idea of the extent of that. It's,
That came in last Friday.
yeah,
Okay.
Right? Anything else?
nope.
Mike?
No comment?
All right, I think I'm talked out.
Second.
All right. Moved by Cindy, seconded by Tom. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we are adjourned at 9:24 p.m.